Call the meeting to order. If everyone can rise and join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And a moment of silence. Thank you. All right, I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the May 1st, 2013 school board meeting minutes. By Keith, seconded. By Philip. Any changes?
I have one on page 4.
Page 4.
Page 4, the fourth highlight. I think the addition should be the name of the committee. I think it's the Dunbarton Tuition Calculation Subcommittee or something. This is where you were appointed the first alternate and I was appointed the second alternate. It just says to the committee. And I thought it would be nice to say the Dunbarton Tuition Calculation Subcommittee or whatever name you called it.
I know, I think that committee's had a hard time with identity. Because there's so much that it needs to do.
Tuition committee.
The tuition.
Because New Boston is now, subcommittee, because New Boston is now going to participate in the table as well.
Okay, so then let's just call it the Tuition Subcommittee.
Do we have any other changes?
No.
What do you got, Philip? No?
It's superfluous. It's not a necessity.
Okay.
Is it inaccurate as written?
Yes.
Then it should be correct.
As written, yes.
We all set? All in favor of the minutes as amended?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Ben's abstaining. Remainder voted in favor. Correspondence. I have a correspondence folder here. We have an invitation for the Goffstown High School senior athletes and coaches for the recognition dinner. There's an email that I received regarding the proposed changes to the portable in the library. There is a letter from the Reverend Burton regarding the parish hall rental. To the Reverend Burton, pardon me. Thanking them for arranging the use of St. Lawrence Parish Hall for holding the GHS 2013 AP exams. That was very nice of them. And let's see, we've got a substitute report. Got a few substitute reports. I'll pass that around. Public comment. Oh. Commendations, good news. Yeah, somebody's got to keep me in line, apparently.
I have some good news from Maple Avenue.
Excellent.
Tomorrow night is our 5th annual Literacy and Arts Night. Starts at from 6:30 to 7:30, and we're really excited. The kids are proud of the work that they've worked on all year long. It's a collection of pieces of their writing and artwork that they've done. And this year we're also offering a book swap. If you bring a children's book, you can trade it in for a different book. So that's tomorrow night. And on Thursday night, we have our annual Family Information Night for incoming first graders. Families and the children, the kindergartners, can come in to meet their teachers and tour the school and get a feel for Maple Avenue. And Friday, busy week this week at Maple, we have our Memorial Day program, and it starts at 1:30, outside weather permitting, and all are welcome to come. It's a nice tradition that we have there for our Memorial Day ceremony.
Okay, and at MVMS last Thursday we had a student recognition assembly, so it was our first full school assembly in several years, so we were very excited for it. And it was in order to highlight positive student contributions in the areas of cause pride, academics, attendance, extracurricular activities, personal accomplishments, team activities, clubs, and community service. So it went without a hitch, and everyone had a really good time. It was about an hour, so they're very excited for the next one, and my team was coming up with all kinds of ideas of what we should do for the next one. So it's good to see the kids excited about that. This Thursday, student government is hosting the Best of the Best at MBMS Talent Show. So it's this Thursday at 7, and we have 10 acts, and they're really good. We have a 5th grader playing the piano. He's so good. And a couple girls tap dancing, and some singers, a magic act. So we're really excited for it. And the proceeds are going to the animal rescue organization Peace and Paws. So they're going to actually come and have a little table set up as well. So everyone's really excited about it. And then this week, we actually have a lot going on this week. Wednesday is the 7th grade science fair at 3:30. Thursday is the first annual international fair. So they're doing like an international week theme. And Friday is the Memorial Day assembly. And then next Thursday and Friday, next Thursday is the band concert at 7, and next Friday is the chorus and string concert at 7. So we have a lot going on. It's going to be fun.
At the high school, we have, last week we had kneecap science testing for juniors, and that went well. It's going pretty smoothly, kids are getting used to it. We have to kind of shift all around because we use the whole 200 wings. So, that went well. They also had AP testing, and that's a lot of work for Marion Hickey and Irma Robinson in guidance. And they do a great job coordinating that. And I think those kids are probably happy to be done with that. And then tomorrow, for the first time, we're entering a team in Envirothon at Southern New Hampshire University. It's Dr. Houghton's environmental science class, and it's this long endeavor to compare environmental knowledge and sustainability. So hopefully we'll do well. We've been preparing all year for it. So. And then I was going to tell you about the New Hampshire Scholars Program, but Megan's going to tell you about that.
Okay, so you may or may not know, but Goffstown High School entered into the New Hampshire Scholars Program, which is an initiative that is basically, its goal is to raise the core level for higher achieving students in high school. So basically, to be a New Hampshire Scholar, you have to have a certain core courses that you have to take over the course of your 4 years, and there's a couple other requirements. I have a program overview if you want to pass it around. It just outlines what the program is. But we are the most recent high school to join in, and so far we have a list. The second page is the list of kids who are going on the field trip this Wednesday, which basically is a luncheon with the governor. There are more kids than that list who are New Hampshire Scholars, but basically it's seniors that are awarded this. And it also comes with some scholarships that you get access to, like UNH Manchester, New England College, and all of the community colleges in New Hampshire. You get access to special scholarships. So it's another new award that some higher achieving high school seniors in Goffstown can be awarded. This Sunday, the Student Council and NHS both had groups in the Walk for Hunger, and NHS raised a little under $1,800, and Student Council raised $1,000. So in total, they had almost $2,800 raised for the cause, and there was a lot of participants that day, which was really exciting. For Student Council also, elections were today, so I have the new school board rep who will be coming into the next meeting with me so she can get a feel for it. Samantha Dever, she will be your new student rep. Also coming up this week, the Gatsby field trip. Because of the new movie that came out, Great Gatsby is a book all AP English classes and junior year read. So this year's AP Literature and last year's for this year's AP language classes are all going to see the movie because they all read the book. So we'll be going to Chunky's on Wednesday. On Friday is the physics annual canopy field trip. So they're just going to take data from the rides and they'll be end up using it in a project later on. Also on May 30th, the marine biology field trips start. So that means that AP students are sort of running stations that the current biology sophomore classes go through, so that it like reinforces and gives them like experiments that they can do actually in Rye Harbor based on the knowledge that they've learned throughout the year, which is a really exciting and fun trip. And that's for 4 days. So each of the classes take a turn going. That's it.
Very great. Any other good news, accommodations?
I'd like to add a comment. We have hosted an exchange student for the past year, and when I came through Goffstown High School, there were also exchange students in the school, and I know that not all schools open their doors to exchange students. I think it was a very positive experience, not only for the student, but also for the student that got to know her, and I think it's great that Goffstown makes that available.
That's great. Thank you. Anything else? All right. Now we are on to public comment. Do we have any public comment this evening? No? Okay. Standing committee reports. Policy Review Committee.
Keith is the chair.
Keith is the chair. Mr. Allen?
What?
You were elected in your absence at the last meeting Monday. Never did it.
I don't know how you expect me to give an update then, because I wasn't even aware of that part. I was absent at the meeting last Monday, I will say that. So was that.
Now you understand why the grace was so easily delivered.
It was
All
humanity.
right, guys. Do we
Who was really elected the chair?
You were.
No, would somebody please provide the update since I was absent?
I was only there to go through the IJNDB-R with the subcommittee, and I think both Philip and Hank have that for you.
You want to do it, Phil?
Phil, want to do that, please?
It was in your minutes as presented with changes, and when they came through, the changes were highlighted. And they were, the actual changes to the proposal were nominal in their nature.
I noticed it looked like it was phraseology, it was designee, that sort of, those sort of
And a couple of other little
It's a
words. There
cleanup.
wasn't any modification. In fact, Gary was there for the meeting, and we all chatted about all the various pieces that came up, and he is in agreement with it as well.
Okay.
And MC was there too, and I don't think she had any problems with it.
There's no major changes. I'm surprised Keith didn't remember that.
He wasn't paying attention. All right, so we're looking
Just
for...
when I heard that, I was like, chair, I think, oh, what now?
So we're looking for approval, so I need a motion
I'll make that motion.
to approve. That would be policy IJNDB as amended per our packet. First by Dan, second by Hank. Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor? We're unanimous. Yes.
It was IJNDB for policy and IJNDB for regulations.
R for regulation. So that is a...
Motion, does include R?
Yes, I do want to clarify the motion. We're looking at IJNDB-R, the accessible use regulations, as well as policy IJNDB. Can I confirm that vote, please?
Aye.
We're good, thank you. PNC,
We have not met since the last meeting, so there's no updates.
okay. We did get that letter out for a Teacher Appreciation Week. Thank you. All right, C and E. Anybody? Jenny is not here to report.
I was there, and we mainly went over just the larger picture readiness standards, and we spent time just going over that. So it wasn't any new business, rather just looking at what was already in place and where we are in the process.
Okay, thank you. Budget Committee. Budget Committee met last Thursday night. It was a good meeting. One of the things that came forward that I think we'll see as we discuss later in the agenda is the report from Mountain View did mention that that the roof is gone, that they have received complaints over the winter from the public during different sporting events when people have to run out and mop the gym floor because rain's coming through. They had also indicated that they were looking for some white boards. What else? The fire department, I think we need to be aware that they are talking about the required changes to their stations. All three stations combined is just about $4 million. Obviously, that's a round number, but they are, talking about that. Two of the stations are about $2 million. We've got one that's 1.75, and then two that are about one each. And again, round numbers on that. They asked us to email the cuts to make default, which I've already corresponded with Ray and Stacy about. They were looking for the spreadsheet that was shared with us with the cuts that we approved, so that we may meet our default budget. There was quite a bit of talk around the table regarding election results. Thank you. The election results that, of course, the town budget passed and the school budget didn't. Talking about the roles of the boards, that it is the school's responsibility, the school board's responsibility as far as promoting their budget and whatnot. One of the things that I've observed at the table, they definitely and clearly had talked about taking a peek at personnel, the personnel lines. The sentiment is that everything else has been cut. Supplies have been cut, all the different lines that have been cut, and it's personnel that typically doesn't get looked at. So there is discussion about that around the table. They also did ask if we are going to move forward with a bond, to please not delay and not tell them the night of their public hearing or not vote the night before the public hearing if there can be some more advanced notice. That message was very clear as well. And the one question that I was asked that I did not report on was Brian Fournier had asked about the $800,000 bond issue and where we were, but I did ask that, to state that I was not prepared to report at that time on that topic. So you can see we covered quite a bit as far as the school goes last Thursday. I do think it's clear as we move forward into next year's budget. They're looking to have it closer to default. The tenor of the committee is such that they're looking to have whatever proposed budget come through. They expressed a solid desire to get a budget that's going to pass. Is on my take, which I think we can all agree on. We'd all like a budget to pass. Next, they do meet June, if memory serves, June 20th. It's always the third Thursday of the month. A&F.
We met this evening. We met early so we could do a full invoice. What we did with three of us, we went through all the invoices. We matched up signatures, authority to spend. We had a couple of questions for Ray. Ray's going to go back, research them, and bring it back to us. I'm going to do the actual manifest last.
Okay.
Because that'll be the last act. We talked about milk tips, and there were three.
been part of the agenda.
Yeah, you know what, we
It
can
is.
put that at the tail
Let
end
us
of the
go ahead
agenda.
and talk about that later.
Perfect, thanks, Dan.
Anything else that's not on the agenda? Every other thing's on the agenda? Okay, let me bring forward the manifest. How's that? We all like that. We have a manifest, so I make a motion to approve a manifest in the amount of $1,106,715.96.
Second.
Seconded by Suzanne, thank you.
In the payments, we have payroll, which includes taxes and benefits of $660,000 rounded. We have sped payments, Project Mountain for April, 2 students are $37,150. Lighthouse School, again, sped payments for May services for 2 students, $16,112. The provider is transportation, March, $35,325. Some other amounts that are over $5,000 made payments to vendors are Fred Fuller, he's our oil. We topped off the tank at MVMS. If you remember last time, we had we topped off Goffstown High School and Maple Ave. So this is the bill for topping off MVMS, $15,615. A couple of payments to Goffstown Truck Center, one for April Athletics for $7,762. One for the May regular education transportation, $96,627. That's the annual divided by 10, if I remember correctly. And Houghton, did I get that right? Houghton Mifflin Harcourt. That's the MVMS reading program that we had approved. That's $41,582. And there were some renovations. Remember that Glen Lake half-wall thing we're doing to separate one of the classes? And there was MVMS, a need to make some adjustments for tubs to sinks to things like that for a special education payment. That total went to Prevent Your Service Company for $7,200. That is the bulk. That's $917,200 of the $1,107,000. Any questions that Ray can answer?
Any questions? All right, all in favor of approving the manifest as presented?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Elementary Facilities Building Committee report. Do we have a report?
And we have not yet been able to schedule a meeting with all the participants.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Are we planning on doing that sometime relatively soon?
We were waiting for you to come back.
I wasn't going anyway. My problem is, I think what happened last year, we really waited too long to get going last fall. You know, we just didn't have enough time to get everything done. And if, maybe we'll make a decision tonight whether to put it on the warrant or not put it on the warrant. But if, whatever we do, I think we should keep, these were very committed people. I think we should really try to keep them involved and interested.
They were. They pulled a lot of weight as far as the task at hand.
I mean, I think if nothing else, that committee could work on our website, work on the information for this next year, even if it doesn't go on, do some proactive work to get the word out.
I do think that we want to make a decision fairly soon. I really do. So they know what they're working towards. All right. Goffstown, New Boston, Goffstown Dunbarton Tuition Committee report. We do have a meeting scheduled for tomorrow, 7 o'clock. Am I correct?
Yes.
And we have extended the invitation for members of the New Boston Board to join, as they are stakeholders as we move forward with these discussions. You may remember at our last meeting, what we were waiting for is the attorneys that represent both Goffstown and Dunbarton to get to talk, and they've done that. I have subsequently spoken with our legal counsel, and the conversation of which I can share with you during a non-public session, which we can do at the end of the meeting when we go into non-public. Anybody have any questions on that? All right, Goffstown New Boston Area Committee.
We got together last week, Tuesday. Jeannie and I were there for Goffstown, and I think the entire New Boston School Board was there, all 5 of them. And we were pretty well in agreement that what we are going to do is negotiate an area agreement and send it on to the Department of Education. We have a meeting on June 4th at 7 p.m. at the SAU, for which we will begin looking at an adjusted area agreement as it existed for the ballot last March. That changes all of the terminology, so there are only 2 towns involved instead of 3. And that's something that Keith from New Boston said he'd tackle and get to the rest of us.
Okay. All right.
And it pretty much, a few tweaks is pretty much what the committee thought it needed. Other than that, so when we get that in front of us, there may just be some little language things that change from one thing to another, but it doesn't sound like much.
Okay.
Ray is going to produce a couple of analysis using current data. What would it look like if it was current today? And what would happen using a couple, let's say 25% of New Boston, Dunbarton students would come to Goffstown at 50%. A couple of various parameters around that. There's one other thing, if I think about it real quick, I'll mention it. That's all you have too, Ginny, right? Yeah, it's a scenario, so we'll get through it.
Okay. Thanks, guys. Next up is the superintendent report.
I'm still looking for a couple of volunteers to do retirement bell presentations. So right now I have Diane and Keith confirmed for Maple Ave on Wednesday, June 5th at 3:15. I need somebody for Glen Lake for just one person at 11:30 on June 19th.
What day of the week is that?
It's a Wednesday.
What time is the one at Glen Lake?
11:30.
There's a possibility I can do that. Let me check in.
I have just one person at Mountain View for Wednesday, June 12th at 3:10. Within that time frame.
Oh, yeah, nobody volunteer for that?
No.
Well, since I am the chair of a subcommittee, I'd like to make an appointment. Who's on that committee that elected me chair? You, and you.
No. I was only there as a visitor.
Oh, okay. I'll fix a few items here.
We have a symbol in the
Oh,
chair.
dear.
All right.
Sure you did.
So do we have anybody who can do that?
What time is it again?
3:10. Sometime between 3:10 and 3:30 is fine. Staff meetings usually go an hour or so.
Wednesday the 19th?
The 12th. The 19th is Glen Lake.
I'll give it my best shot. If I have a problem, I'll let you know.
Okay.
So you put me in there. That's Mountain View Middle School.
I have the high school as Phillip and then Retta potentially with a question mark. And then I have Ginny for Bartlett on the 28th at 1 o'clock with a question mark.
I can do that one.
You can do that one. Okay. Take the question mark off.
Can you tell me the date of the high school one?
Yeah, the high school one is Friday, June 28th. The last day of school at noon time. And so whoever's doing that, as usual, I'll get you the salary ahead of time so you can work with it.
How many retirements do we have this year?
And in Goffstown,
8,
11.
11. Oh, okay.
4 at Maple Ave, 1 at Glen Lake, 1 at Mountain View, 4 at the high school, 1 at Bartlett. Teacher up to the school board, I want to congratulate Sam for running again and winning. He ran against
You had
himself.
such a good time with us all year, right?
I am working
Thanks,
on
Sam.
the middle school. I did not have anybody for the elementary or middle school, so I put it back out again. I got 3 reps actually wanting to run at the middle school, so we did an election. So I'm waiting. Actually, they were due back into the office by 4 o'clock today, so I just didn't get a chance to get over there to count them. But I will send out something tomorrow to let you know. And we have nobody for the elementary level, so I've asked the principals to, really reach out to people and, try to see if somebody is interested. So we'll kind of work some people over and
Didn't
figure
you
out
have a
names.
policy that the teacher rep couldn't leave unless a replacement was found?
Yeah. So we'll continue to work on that.
I thought we had that type of policy.
Just to follow up to what our student rep talked about was on the New Hampshire Scholars. So this was a program that I had talked to the Commissioner of Education about and then talked to Frank about, and it's a free program, but what it does is it provides, it goes on students' transcripts that they were a New Hampshire Scholar, and really the gist of the program is that we want to, not necessarily the high-end kids who would automatically take those kids, but push our middle-level kids to take more more rigorous programming. It's a recommended, 4 years of English, 3 years of math, including Algebra 1, Algebra 2, and Geometry, with the potential that you would take a 4th year of math. So really pushing students to engage in higher level courses, to engage in more rigorous curriculum. As part of that, if you become a New Hampshire Scholar, by doing that, you get like an award to wear at graduation that says you're a New Hampshire Scholar, you're invited to this lunch, and there was lots of opportunities for scholarships that students would get. So it was a great opportunity for our high school. It cost us nothing to do, but there's also local tie-ins to businesses who will come in and talk to students about the needs of their industries. Even if it's working at New England Sheet Metal, that kids need to have more than just a high school diploma. So it really is trying to tie the community into the schools to encourage students to take a more rigorous curriculum, no matter what their outcome is going to be or what they're interested in doing. So I do think it is a great program. Just a reminder, and I think we'll talk about it probably, but just Mountain View Middle School, the school boards, it's been scheduled for Thursday, May 23rd from 5 to 6 for the school board to meet the finalist candidate for Mountain View. So I want you all to put that on your calendar if it's possible for you to be there. That would be great. Have a whole hour to engage and talk with the candidate.
What was the time again?
5 to 6.
That's Thursday.
That's this week, isn't it?
Yes, it is Thursday.
I'm sorry.
And last but not least, I do have, so a couple people were out last week. I'm going to hand around again for people who didn't fill out your elected official, your ability to get health or dental insurance. So if you weren't here at the last meeting, you'll see your name on the top of them. Just grab yours. Everybody's on the side. So just if you could fill that out, even if you're not interested in health or dental insurance, and remember it is at your 100% expense. The district doesn't pick up anything, but it is an ability for you to get that insurance if you so desire or need it. There's a little space on the bottom that says you're not interested if you don't want it. Get those back to me.
Can we just go back to Thursday evening? I know we're on for 5 to 6, but what's on the agenda later on in the evening after we meet from 5 to 6?
From the agenda that I received, so you are on 5 to 6, and then it looks like the principal search committee is going to meet at 6:15. You are the last.
The
When
public
do they
is
supposed to meet the
invited.
public?
The public is 4:15 to 5,
Before dinner.
and the staff are 3:15 to 4:15. Students are 1:45 to 2:45, and before that is a tour of the school.
Did you have your question answered?
I'm just wondering if we as a board should be asked to sit in on that last meeting at 6:15 to kind of get some more feedback. Let's say some feedback.
I believe the committee will have forms for you to fill out to give the committee feedback.
No, I'm actually looking for what their feedback is. We've received feedback, yet we have received no feedback, yet the name has gone public, and that's a little bit out of the normal policy for the school board. Normally, we have had the chance to review some information before any name is made public. I understand the time constraints, but we're out there advertising a finalist, and the board knows nothing about that finalist, except for what was put in the press release.
Right, and that's, I mean, this is your opportunity to learn about the finalist in this hour. I have not met the finalist either. I mean, this is the process that was set up, was that the committee, you charge the committee to make these decisions.
Yeah,
The
we've
board,
never,
then you charge the
I
superintendent.
would kind of beg to differ. If we were going to have 3 finalists, we would have made 3 names public. 1 finalist?
And that would be a question for the committee came out with one finalist.
I have to tell you, I was really angry when I saw that.
Yeah.
Because this board said they wanted to see finalists plural.
Yeah. And I understand that. I think the board, I think that.
And I'm sorry I wasn't there, but I would have screamed a little bit
The
louder. That I
committee came
did.
out with, was only had 1 finalist out of the applications.
and I can live with that result. What I'm having problems with, the press release goes out without even the board being notified first or having any information shared with them. I guess for me to find out by reading a press release I found it not to be appropriate.
Agreed.
It was
We have an
embarrassing.
agenda item too, 3F, we're going to get to.
It is coming.
And I'll agree at that point as well.
Okay. Is that it for the superintendent report?
Yep.
Okay. We do have, if you go down to new business, we have a parent appeal of the superintendent's decision regarding school assignment. I have been asked to bump that ahead in the agenda so that the parent can do her presentation and be free to go. Typically speaking, when we do speak about situations with children, we go into non-public. We have non-public later. Is the board agreeable to switching that order around?
No objection.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just gonna skip ahead quickly to the new business section, subsection A, parent appeal of superintendent's decision regarding school assignment.
And I can certainly frame it for the board. So you have a policy JCA, which is school assignment, change of school assignment, which reviews students who are, in general, want to go to the wrong school. So somebody who lives in the Bartlett side of town who wants to go to Maple Ave side of town. It also talks about manifest educational hardship. There's other pieces to the policy, but this is the policy that it's in reference to. Every year I receive requests from parents to have their child in the wrong school for some reason or another. Typically it's a pretty valid reason. Either it's a hardship on the parents, whatever it is. And so I take them all and I review them. Based on your policy, which is aligned with the RSA, the total reassignment or transfer made under this policy in any one school year shall not exceed 1% of the average daily membership and residence of a school district or 5% of the average daily membership and residence of any single school, whichever is greater. So the greater number is 3. So your policy, unless the board it says reassignment made under this policy which exceeds the percentages provided in number 7 above must have prior written approval of the school board. So typically what I do is I look at those requests that come in. Oftentimes we'll have a request for a year and then the parent doesn't want it again the following year because they've figured out whatever the situation was. So typically I take the requests of students who are in the wrong schools already as a priority because it would be those students who have already been there. And then we look at requests. So we have 3 students already in the wrong schools, per se, that have been in the wrong schools for some time now. And so I approved those. We then had 2 additional parents request. Cassandra Berry is one of them, for her child who is currently at Glen Lake to be able to attend Maple Ave. She lives on the Bartlett side of town. Both requests were the same. I denied it for a variety of reasons. One is the policy doesn't allow me to go over the number 3 without board approval. The other is when I look at reasons, I felt it wasn't as substantial as other reasons I have been given. I also look at class size. Right now, Maple Ave's class size is looking at 20-something, 20 to 21. Bartlett is at 16 to 17. which was the other reason I denied it, was because of the class size. That Maple Ave certainly is larger than Bartlett. The parent has appealed to the board, which, as I explained to her, was the next step in the process. And so, Cassandra, do you want to come up and just talk to the board about kind of what your concerns are or why you're requesting this? Just kidding. Yes.
Why don't you come towards the center so that the mics will pick you up?
Just over here is fine.
Yep,
That's perfect, thank you. I'm feeling a decision because my son is dropped off at my parents' house in the Maple Ave district at 7 in the morning. His transportation is my disabled father, who is partial paraplegic. I drop him off before work, and I pick him up after school hours. So he's in the Maple Ave district and has been since he was a year old during the school days. So transportation would be harder. I work in the Maple Ave school district, so if anything were to happen, I'd be there. Maple Ave school ratings are a lot higher. Bartlett's has, in need of improvement school. I figure for his best education would be to go to the school where he'd be provided a better education. The ratings has a half a rating of what Maple Ave has. My biggest concern is where he is during the day. His care provider is nowhere near Bartlett. And again, it'd be a lot easier for my dad to be able to drop him off and pick him up the street from his house versus driving across town. Nowhere along the school day is anybody going to be able to pick him up, or no bus is going to go from Bartlett to my parents' house to pick him up, or from Bartlett to drop him back off. So it's in the best decision for his education and transportation-wise that he could be transferred to Maple Ave. I think that's about it.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any questions?
What grade is he in?
He's in kindergarten right now.
Okay. So he'll be in first grade.
Yeah, and my dad provides transportation for him now as well.
Just so I'm clear, is it fair to say that unless something changes, this isn't a 1 year, this is a 4-year
Well, we're going to be buying a house. Clearly, I'm having twins. Where we are, I can't say that. Well, when we move, we're going to the Maple Ave district. I'm not staying in that part of town. I don't want to be there. I don't like it there. It's too city-like for me. I'd prefer to be closer out here. But school for school, I've lived here my entire life. 25 years. I went through Maple Ave, Mountain View, this school. I've been through them all. It's just, their ratings are not there. They're in need of improvement. I don't feel it'd be fair to send my son to a school if I have a choice where he can get a better education.
I will say, though, I think, when you start comparing test scores and everything, it's hard to compare apples to apples with these schools.
Right.
Maple Ave has had its time when it's had a need of improvement.
Right. And I'm talking now where my son's going to be, what their ratings are now, what their test
You do
scores are
understand
now.
that we don't allow choice based upon which school you prefer to go to, based
Right.
on test
Right, and that's
scores or
why I
anything
said,
else.
if I were in the Bartlett district, if I didn't work, if my parents lived there, any of that, but my dad being partial paraplegic, it's not that easy for him to transport him, and he's 2 seconds from Maple Ave, and if he got called out sick from work, I'd have to go right there. My dad had to go pick him up, it'd be right there. My husband works in Manchester, so he's not going to be near Bartlett, and the rest of us who would all have to pick him up or provide his transportation are not going to be there. They can't pick him up by bus at my house, he won't be there. They can't drop him off, he won't be there. So he's now nowhere near that district, or they're busing, or I'm already at work when school starts, so it's not like it's an option for me to, even be there to send him on his way.
Do we have any other questions?
Isn't it part of No Child Left Behind Act that if a school is in need of improvement for a certain number of years, then students are given a choice?
It is if the other school is also a Title I school, but Maple Ave is not Title I.
Do we have any discussion? Do we wish to table this?
I think we need to discuss it in non-public.
Discuss in non-public? Okay, thank you.
We'll get you an answer. Thank you.
Since I'm the state
All right. So back where we are, old business, energy audit recommendation. This, of course, is the Honeywell proposal that we spoke about 2 weeks ago. Ray, did you have anything?
You want to do it, Philip, as it were? We have a new sheet to pass out, because Philip came up with a cool idea to present the Phase 1 energy cost avoidance amounts of the guarantee versus what actually happens. Ray has a handout. Looking at this Phase 2 cost that we're looking to finance versus the payment of same through a guaranteed cost avoidance, looks like it would be close to 17 years to pay it back, a 15-year note. But if you look at the guarantee of roughly $89,350 versus what we actually saved of $135,000 for Phase 1, if we achieve the same types of goals for Phase 2, which is attainable because it is going to give the staff the opportunity to control each device individually, so you can set heating down, so you're not burning and heating a whole wing. You can heat just a part of it. You can have the motors turned, the air handlers operating more effectively, so you're not necessarily reheating cold air but warm air. I think when Diane, Philip, and I talked, the presentation that we gave is valid, and I believe we can start to save a lot more money in 15 years or 14 years, much over and above the Phase 1.
So that's the one side, and then if you remember, so on the second side is the cost. If you remember at the last meeting, we talked about should we put the roof and the high school, not the roof and the high school windows into this project as well. So Ray, but this is, so Honeywell has basically added that in there, and this is the kind of the same spreadsheet, just with those two costs added in, which raises the project cost at 2.332.
What it does is it costs the district about $40,000 worth in finance charges over 15 years to add the roof and the windows into the project. The important thing to note again, however, is that we still turn a significantly healthy, positive cash flow at the end of 15 years, even given the extra financing charges for those two projects. So that is on the flip side of the document that you're looking at. We go from a total, on a standalone basis, Phase 1 or Phase 2 as proposed by Honeywell. The total cumulative positive cash flow over 15 years would be $988,000. If we were to do the roof as well as all of the items included with the original Honeywell Phase 2 proposal, we would be looking at a $716,000 return, again, on a positive cash flow. So the decision really is whether to proceed with the projects, proceed with the original Honeywell proposal, or to include the roofing and the window replacement here at the high school as part of that project.
And if I may, there's a third alternative, one that I've been dealing with, where this is a proposal for energy savings. I can see where single pane windows being replaced by more current windows would save energy, and I have no problem adding that to it, but I have a problem with the $200,000 adding to it because I don't see the energy savings necessarily. I would really like to take care of that immediately and not have to go through this whole process. We're going to be talking about unencumbered funds in a few minutes. I'm not sure whether we ought to talk about those first and pause this, because I think that plays a role in a final decision, at least it does for me. And I'm not comfortable with the $200,000. It is a $40,000 hit for interest over, and so your $200,000 roof just turned into a $240,000 roof.
No, I agree with that. I agree with that.
Yeah, the experiment was designed at how much of a drag, if any, will it be on cost avoidance?
Yep.
And it looks like it's a substantial hit, so I think you're right, Dan, that is part of the equation. A lot has to do with what we're looking at, and forgive me, I don't remember, in terms of unencumbered funds.
We're at about 260, rough estimate. And just so you know, Jerry did get refreshed quotes on the roof, and so we had two quotes, one from North Point Roofing, which was $224,150, and Century Roofing, which was $193,500, and both confirmed that those were still good, valid bids.
Have you used either of those companies for roofing before?
We've used North
We've used
Point.
North Point, definitely.
And the other one was called?
Century.
It's a $30,000 bid. It's a chunk.
The specs were all the same as for the roof tiles and everything?
Jerry's shaking his head yes.
Completely removed the original roof down to the substructure, and I think they both quoted architectural tiles. So it's maybe a 50-year. I don't remember off the top of my head, but it's a significant warranty.
Do you have any understanding why there might be such a difference? Is there anything that you've noticed that would account for that?
No, I really don't. I'm not sure.
Okay.
One, I think, is a much bigger company, Century, and that could be why.
Thank you.
The process, I guess, to go forward is we would need to, if we were to go with this, what is the feel of the board for whether the windows would be included as part of this or not?
I'm very comfortable putting the windows in. I think we need to talk about the roofs more.
So do we need we don't need to table it, we can come back to it, right?
I
We can come
think
back to
this is
it,
no-
I think, yeah. We can chew on that as we go. Is there any further discussion at this time? Okay. So moving forward onto the CIP matrix approval.
Once again, that roof is on it, so
Right.
maybe we should come back to that too.
God bless the roof.
Well, just for a second, when do we have to get you the CIP matrix, right?
Tonight.
It's gotta be
So we
now.
can't come back to it,
No, I'm saying later tonight, after we talk about if
No,
we're going to do the roof or not.
unencumbered funds.
Believe me, CIP has no problem if later on down the road you say, okay, we don't need that.
Right.
They'll be very happy to take it off.
Yeah,
They'll say,
I'm very happy to do that.
your decision, Madam Chair.
As far as moving on to CIP.
Or
Talking about the
CIP after we talk about the roof, after we talk about,
You can bump it out, that's fine. That's fine. I mean, they're all related.
We just
And I
didn't want
think
you
we're
to
going
lose
to
sight
balance
of
through.
it.
No. All right, so moving forward, review of board decision on the library and the classroom. In an effort to...
What
oh, go ahead.
did we do with CIP matrix?
We just
gonna
put
postpone
it
it.
aside until
Okay.
we do the unencumbered funds.
Thought I
so-
fell asleep there for a second.
Right? Well, you never know.
Yeah, I know.
You never know.
Lately I do that a lot.
Would it make sense to do unencumbered funds next, and then
Yeah.
keep those three together, and then do the library?
Marry them up, okay.
Because I think they're so tied together.
And this is, I mean, the whole discussion is really tied together. So we have our unencumbered funds. Where are we, Ray?
We're still in and around the $260,000 area. I'm very reluctant to say that it's going to be anything more than that at this point in time. We still have the balance of this month to get through, as well as 4 weeks of operations in the month of June. So whatever decisions we do make, or at least want to contemplate with respect to the use of unreserved funds or unencumbered funds, I would suggest that projects be entered into late in June rather than today or tomorrow on using these monies.
So the
But
last,
again, I would probably focus on the $200,000 range and trying to call that the ceiling at this
Right,
point.
I think the question really is where's the money coming from? That's the overarching question. So basically, I've told administrators where the budget is shut down except for emergency expenditures, because if the roof is coming out of that, that leaves us only with about $60,000, which is not a lot. So, so that money is kind of on hold, just awaiting this board meeting to make a decision. So.
Not to complicate things any further, but I think it's incumbent upon us in this sort of discussion to do so. You've seen the list of things. That list, when you subtract $200,000 out of it to dedicate to a single purpose, means that you have far fewer choices left about what you pluck off. Now, we simply have to decide priority. If it doesn't happen here because of the financing and because it doesn't create sufficient cost avoidance to justify doing it here, and if you take that $40,000 hit, and I'm not sure, let's see, okay. I don't know if there's any cost avoidance associated with it at all. There may actually not be a great deal. You've got to think that there's some. But you aren't leaving yourself a lot of choices, so maybe part of the rest of that conversation actually needs to be parsing through the list of things that we've already seen.
it's about 2.5 pages.
It is about 2.5 pages, and I'm not sure that we necessarily contemplated walking in the door tonight, pulling all 4 of those pieces together.
Too soon.
Well, I'm not sure what, we have to finish up, CIP is a drop dead. We have to make decisions on that. I don't think that making a decision on it gets in our way tonight. What do we have in terms of a timeline for committing to Honeywell Phase 2?
Again, the decision should be made tonight.
Okay.
If the board has any desire of reaping the benefit of the heating plant changeovers for next heating season.
Right.
That's work that has to be scheduled, ordered, and initiated over the summer.
Ray, can I ask you, on that if we spend $200,000 on the roof, and the interest rate's 2.1%, is it really $40,000 over the 15 years?
Over 17 years. 15 years.
And that was-
I'm just,
$40,071, which included the $200 for the roof plus $32,500 for the windows.
Okay, so if we took it out, we're talking probably about $38,000 then, for the true cost to finance the roof.
Let's see. So 32.5 into is another 6, so you can take a 6th off of it. So
We're
6 times
we're almost
6,
just under
maybe-
39 probably.
Maybe 34,000, between 33 and 34,000. Because there's between 6 and 7 32s in the total. So divide by 8 and take 7.
The only reason why I'm bringing that up is,
35.
while I would love to take it out of this year's money, I have a concern only leaving $60,000 to spend. I can't think of an emergency that would come up, with the exception of our oil tanks issues, but we're going to, if we put in the Honeywell, we'll address those anyway this summer. I don't know, I'm a little uncomfortable just leaving $60,000 in emergency money to make it through till July 1st. That's my real concern.
Well, we haven't encumbered anything else yet, so theoretically, we still have the $260,000 to play with.
Right, but I'm saying, but if we take the roof out of it, I think that is, we're so tight.
Yeah, but that's a decision we don't have to make tonight.
Well, we gotta decide on the Honeywell tonight, so we gotta decide. if
Well,
we
we're
put
going to
the
do
roof or not.
Honeywell, yes or no, but the roof, the numbers for the roof can either stay in or you can take them out. I would suggest we leave them in CIP and every place so that we know the potential is there, that this is
I
on
don't think we
on the
can wait
radar.
that long. I truly think the roof needs to get done sooner
I
than
do,
later.
I do too. But I am not comfortable making that decision tonight. Come back to me in 2 to 4 weeks, and then I'll be comfortable, because Ray will have a lot better handle on what the unreserved fund balance really is.
Yeah, I agree with Suzanne.
I'm almost thinking, why don't we leave it in the Honeywell, and we can always pull it out of the Honeywell at the last minute? No.
Contract.
Read a bond resolution, not a
Oh,
bond.
okay, we can't make any modifications.
If we do that,
No, I think our choice
by the time the
is-
contract is over, it'll be time to put a new roof on again, so. I don't like the finance.
Right now, the numbers being so tight, 260, and taking 200,000 out of it, I think it's...
You got time, relax.
No,
Sure, deep
we
breath.
don't, because if we want to put it into Honeywell, we need to decide that
Yeah,
tonight.
I don't want to put it, sorry.
Diane?
Yes.
If I understand that correctly, we put it in CIP, and we decide in 4 weeks to do it out of unreserved fund balance, we just reduce the CIP by 200, is that correct?
CIP is the least of our
No
worries
harm,
on
no
this
harm, no
piece.
foul.
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I'm just concerned that we may not have the $200,000 to put towards the roof this year. I'm getting concerned about that.
And
It's not likely you'll have it next year either.
Right.
So one of the things I'm looking at is making it easier for me, because when we went into the Honeywell, in our minds, we're doing this for energy savings, and I
Right.
cannot justify voting for the roof as part of the energy savings because we don't have a budget for it, because we got a default budget for it. So somewhere in my mind, in the way the people voted, and in my own mind of energy savings, we have a tough choice to make. And that is the tough choice for me, is whether we have to postpone 2.5 pages of other stuff we needed to go for the roof, because that's how the vote went. And it's a tough choice, because I'm just repeating myself. I don't see the energy savings on the roof.
I agree.
And
It's so,
that's-
I can imagine it's very minimal. I'm just
Need
concerned
it
that we're
all.
not going to have money for the roof, so I guess that's where my concern is, that's all.
They've done it before. I've seen them clamp down on expenses, and we talked about this briefly at the A&F subcommittee, and we're saying, okay, Ray, we're still at 263. Things are frozen, looking there. What's a big hit that could possibly happen? And so one of my things is, what about somebody retires and we have to make a payment? Well, that's not this year, that comes out of next year.
Right, because they haven't set a
that's what-
deadline for it.
They missed the
Right.
deadline. So is there any other big hit? Big hits are, if we get hit by retirement, the rates are fixed, so it's not their health insurance, the rates were fixed, we're not going to get that. So
It would have to be a major mechanical issue.
something of that nature, and we have roughly 4 weeks.
So that's 5 weeks?
On the 17th of June, we'll know, that's our last meeting in June, and we can make a definitive answer at that point. But you're right, Honeywell will be done. We have already put the Honeywell, but for me, that decision's already made. And even if we don't have 200, but we know, because we've been told that there's water spots in the gym, that side of it can be done. If we had to piecemeal it, we could piecemeal it. It's not preferred, but there's something that we can do. So it's, for me, the tough decision is looking at the 2.5 pages, some of the steel doors that have rust on them, some of the security measures that we'd like to put in place that we might not be able to do. But we have this big nut, and I'd rather take the nut and get done.
Ben?
Just a point of information, if we wait until the 17 June, will that give us enough time for them to stage, do the replace the roof at Mountain View before school starts?
The project will be committed and work would start before June 30th. That takes care of that issue.
Okay, so that, yeah, no, I know that. I mean,
So
the
we'll
work
be
would
done
start.
by September 1st.
No, I'm talking about having it completed by the middle of August. Is that a possibility?
Our facilities director says yes.
I do think that's very doable.
Okay.
Jerry, can you weigh in about the piecemeal, doing it piecemeal?
Well,
Sure,
then,
please.
you have to remember, every time if you do it in sections, you're going to pay for that labor to come back.
Exactly.
So there would be an increase of how much I'm not 100% sure.
Remember, we talked about that. Jenny, you had something?
Yeah. I have a concern with the amount of safety items that we had on that 2.5-page list that we decided that we weren't going to be able to do. And I don't believe that the doors and the security stuff was included in the Honeywell, was it?
No.
Because I have a real problem with doors kicking open and not having the security stuff. I have a problem with not being able to do this back parking lot so that that crossover is safe. There's a lot of safety things in there, and it's hard for me to say that if we could put this together in the Honeywell and get some of that other stuff done with the money that we have, it might be a really smart thing to do, too. I mean, I know it's a lot of interest, but also it's a lot of stuff that needs to get done that we're going to not, 60,000 is not going to cover, because 60,000 is what we're going to need to finish the school year. I mean, what if we have a sped issue that comes up? Those cost $1 billion in a second. So there are things that are not included in Honeywell that could come along and be a huge issue. So I think we're cutting it really, really tight, and it could come back to be an issue for us. Do I want to spend a whole bunch of money on interest? No, but I also want to make sure that the safety things aren't ignored so that we can have a roof that's,
Sound.
yeah. I mean, and we need it, but maybe we need to pay the interest so we get safety all the way around. And I'm just throwing it out there, I don't really even know. But it's a thought, because there were an awful lot of safety things that were on that 2.5 pages.
Okay.
Just
Any
a
other
thought.
discussion? Yes, Fred?
Terry, do you think there might be an insulation project that we could undertake along with the new roofing work? Put more insulation underneath?
Well, they will be
Rigid stone.
putting insulation in.
And to see if that might provide some benefit, I wonder.
You could spec it to be 2 inches or, over insulate. There is some energy loss with some of this leakage, too. I mean, again, it's probably not significant. I look at it in terms of, I guess, not necessarily fiscally, but practicality. And that is that it really translates to about, if I'm looking at this correctly, maybe $2,000 a year for the life of that. Instead of looking at the big ball, I'm looking at, we are paying something for it. But I do agree with Jenny that there's so many things on that list. Every year the budget is in default, and we have, so many projects that we have to kind of push out.
There's one.
Yeah. Right. It's just about to try to sum this up, so what I'm hearing for...
You're talking a little bit of close to 3,000 a year in interest.
How much?
But, well, it's $40,000, they said, right?
Over 17 years.
15.
15 or 17 years?
15 for the bond, or not the bond, for the payment.
Okay.
So, and you do need a roof. It's leaking, it's not going to get better.
So maybe they don't heal themselves.
It's a little over 2,000 a year.
Maybe the first question for the board to answer, it sounds like, is should the roof be part of the bond project?
That's exactly it.
I think we have-
That's what the question
So if
is
maybe
asking.
somebody
Circle
makes a
round.
motion for that, and then you could see where people fall on that.
I'll make that motion that
Trying
we
to
put the
figure
roof in to the Honeywell project.
I'll second it.
We have a second by Hank.
For discussion, Dan.
Can I
Yes,
ask you a question
Philip.
before we get that far?
Yeah.
So, which project are you talking about? Are you talking about adding just the roof, the roof and the windows?
Oh, I was already thinking the windows could be in there, so I could be more specific and say the roof and the
I'm going to
windows.
say, Philip
enough.
brings up a good point.
So I'll amend my motion to say roof at Mount View Middle School and the windows here at the high school.
Does anyone want to speak to it?
Who seconded it?
Hank seconded it.
He has to
Suzanne?
amend his
Do
second.
we have to make this Honeywell decision tonight? Absolutely, for sure.
We do.
Yes, we do.
I know, so we do.
What happens if we
No,
don't?
I think you have a little more, a tad bit more leeway on Honeywell.
I was gonna say, what happens if we don't?
I think we've got 2 weeks.
Well, because ultimately, you could say you're not doing any of it. I
Right.
mean,
What happens if we don't? We say, Honeywell, sorry, we can't make this until we get more information on something, and you're gonna have to wait 2 weeks. I don't think they're gonna
What
walk
was
away.
their-
One of the
their
things we-
timeline? You all set?
If I may. I can't vote in the affirmative for that motion tonight unless Jerry can come back and Honeywell can come back and say, this is how this becomes an energy-saving project. If Honeywell can come back and say, this is what we can do to make this an energy-saving project, here is the cost, here is your potential savings, then we have full information to make that decision, and I could then likely support this, but without that information, I can't support it because this is a hard decision we have to make. And and I have bifurcated it into an energy-saving project and even tougher decision. And so I would love to table that motion until we can come back in 2 weeks with the answer to that question.
Is that a motion?
That is a motion.
Second.
Okay, seconded by Suzanne. Jenny had her hand up.
Technically, we're not supposed to unless we want to not have the table motion. We could do it after we have the vote, and you could ask for more
All right,
comment.
so we'll go ahead and handle the table motion. All in favor of tabling the discussion for 2 weeks?
Or table the motion,
Table
not the
the
discussion
motion.
necessary.
You know, I should just pack it in right here.
You simply tabling the motion.
Yeah, so we'll all in favor. We have a motion on the table to table the motion for discussion
On the table,
for
to table.
our meeting 2 weeks following this evening.
Aye.
Aye.
I have 1, 2, 3. Opposed?
I'm going to go opposed on it.
Philip, you opposed?
To be perfectly honest, the fact that we haven't, discussion leaves me a little bit surprised. I feel like I'm borrowing a page out of your book.
Okay, I'm calling a vote right now, Laura,
Yeah, I
so
know.
I have to finish the vote.
Right.
And then we can move forward. So we had 3 in favor. I'm calling for opposed. Those opposed to tabling the discussion for 2 weeks, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Abstained? 2 abstained. So the motion to table failed. I had Ginny, who wished to speak to it, or Ginny, you had discussion?
I guess, and maybe this is just something that I have to learn, but I don't see how a new roof, intact, no leaks, and probably I'm imagining they're putting new insulation underneath that roof, that couldn't be considered energy savings. Because right now, we have a leaky roof with old insulation. So I'm sure the insulation that they would put in now would be certainly upgraded from the insulation that we have already, and the materials that they're using will be upgraded from the ones we used 25 years ago. So, I mean, I can't understand, and I don't know this stuff, believe me, but it seems to make sense to me that that would make an energy savings.
Okay. Philip?
The only thing that I wanted to do when we couldn't was, just because I wanted to make sure that I understood, and it's not about agreement or disagreement. But you said if Honeywell could come back and show you that there was a savings component, I just want to make sure that if we put this off for 2 weeks, and give them the opportunity to reflect on what's going to be done or what can be done. There are a variety of things that could happen. They could produce something that actually costs more but produces a savings. Okay? They could come back and say, there's just, you don't see that there's any savings there. Or they could say, there is a savings there and it's not going to cost you anymore. But it is still going to be, under each one of those circumstances, it could still be a drag on your cost avoidance because it doesn't save at the same rate. So you could end up with a 40 or a 38, whatever it is, cost in addition to the basic cost of the roof because of financing it, and something that doesn't net you the same avoidance. So really my question, and that was the reason that I really didn't feel I could responsibly vote, was which one of those things did you intend, or any, or all of the above? Because I don't want to come back in 2 weeks and find ourselves in the same position, that's all. And then I could table or not.
One of the items that I'm looking at is clear in my mind that this is an energy-saving project, and much we don't know. I don't know how to roof it built. And one, I put a new shingles. I took all the shingles off. I put black paper down, and I put roofing. I put no insulation for any means to do anything on my house. Okay, so I haven't been told how this roof is going to be built. I need to know how it's going to be built. If Honeywell is the people that came to us and said this is a project, it might cost more. We might have some energy savings. The energy savings may not cover the additional cost. That is superfluous in my regard here to matching an energy-saving project to spending money for 15 years. It's the principle more than it is the money.
And that thank you very much. That was really the question I had.
Okay.
Thanks.
Stacy?
If I'm recalling correctly, when we bought this up to Honeywell, we asked about the windows and why the windows weren't included in the plan and on the roof. I believe Honeywell said the reason that they aren't is that the payback time for them is far beyond the 15 years, and that's why they don't include those projects in their estimation, because the payback is far beyond the 15 years. And so therefore they don't include that because they don't consider it as effective in this process of what they're looking at.
But they did say there was a savings, but it was very long. Again, that's why I can include that in the principle.
I agree with you. We're on the same page, yeah.
Do we have any further discussion?
I just have a question. What happens if we don't respond, Honeywell?
Ray, you
You could probably get another couple of weeks.
I'm going to say, they're not going to walk away.
No. The only thing that would happen is really the delay of the start of the project for 2 weeks or 3 weeks.
Would they start the project before the end of school, or likely start it after the last day of school?
It depends. We have kids in all summer, so in all of our
But not
buildings,
the
so
quantity
not
of
the quantity.
kids.
It would be the ordering of the materials.
What's the lead time as far as scheduling? Did we talk about that? Did you talk
Yes,
about that, Jim?
there was a desire to get the project started on July 1st, and that presupposed a decision this evening.
Okay.
They're looking at, a 4 to 6 week lead time for many of the major components for the project.
Okay.
Is it possible, Ray, that we can give Honeywell a preemptive approval without voting on the performance contract, or this thing that you handed out?
That is the document that precipitates everything, Dan.
That
The
allows them to
financing
be
and
really
the project.
concerned that is, okay, so the answer is no.
That is happening.
All at once. Okay, I was trying to at least get them started with that piece.
Still have a motion on the table?
Yep.
We do have a motion on the table to recap the motion. It was to go forward with the 15-year, the Honeywell, including the Mountain View Middle School roof and the high school windows. That is the motion that sits on the table currently. All in favor of moving forward with the Honeywell Mountain View Middle School roof, high school windows? 1, What you got?
I was hoping you...
Well, I'm not sure
To table?
procedural-wise if I can do it again.
As far as I can...
Honestly, Dan, we'll allow it. I want to be very respectful of procedure, but honestly, we do have business to transact, and I don't want to get us tied up in a knot.
Okay, then I would like to make a motion, given the rest of the information we have, that can we wait 2 weeks to make this decision pending a Honeywell report of how the roof could be constructed to make it part of an energy-saving project?
So, what's your motion?
Suzanne seconded.
That's my motion.
Your motion is, can we wait?
The
Yeah.
motion
Well,
is
it's
to
table.
table. Good Lord
But for
above.
2 weeks. But you're right, it's table for 2 weeks.
Table it. Yes, so this is
Right.
all set. So names. All right, so the motion is to table the original motion. Is now to table this motion for 2 weeks pending a report from Honeywell. All in favor of tabling the report for 2 weeks pending a report from Honeywell, please signify by raising your hand.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 7 in favor, 2 abstained. All right, so that motion carries, which of course you may
Ray will take care of
deduce that the motion is tabled pending for 2 weeks pending a report from Honeywell.
So I will put the energy
Thank
audit and
you.
unencumbered funds on the next board agenda because they're both kind of tied together.
Please do.
Yes, thank you.
Please do, and thank you for your patience and your discussion. Yes.
Do we want to go back to CIP now?
Can I make a motion to approve CIP as presented?
Hold on a second.
There's
Let's
lots
go
of
back.
questions on
Let's
there.
go back, if we could. I don't think we're quite ready for motions yet.
Okay.
Getting a little crazy. So as we skip around, let's go back to CIP, our CIP matrix. And just so we are all clear, this does need to move forward this evening.
So would it be helpful if I have my notes as to what decisions the board needs to make
Yes, does everybody have their matrix
based
from
on the last
last meeting?
conversation, last
Do you
meeting?
have a copy? Yeah. Of the
Yeah,
matrix?
no.
You don't want one? Okay.
Diane, do you have an extra copy?
I do not have an extra copy, I just have mine.
I'll look on it.
Okay.
So on the first page, really, there's the two big questions for both Bartlett and Maple really are building and when. Portables, yes, no, and or when. So do we want to look at portables in the future, in the near future, in the 2 years down the line? Do we not want to look at portables at all and continue to go for the building? Do we want to go for the building in when? Next year, the year after? And I think that will help then drive wherever we decide to put the building, may help drive the elementary facilities, know exactly where that plan is going, what the intent of the board is. So this is really the board's intent on when you would like to move that forward to. So maybe the building is a bigger question.
Right.
Suzanne?
As I watched you folks last Monday night, I was thinking, I would leave the building project in. I probably would leave the portables in, or I'd like to slit my wrist if we have to bring more portables in here, because we'll never get rid of them. Because as I say, CIP is not that rigid. You do not have to dot your i's and cross your t's at this stage of the game. So if later this month or at some point down the line we say, we're not going to do this, they won't care. And plus, the funding, especially for the bond, is taken care of, so they don't have to worry about where the funding is coming from. The portables would be taxes. The funding for the project would be bond issues, so. And that's the two things they look at. How much does it cost? Where's the money coming from? You know? And I remember last summer when we had money at the end of the year, we took a bunch of things off. They were thrilled. because that means they have more money to distribute amongst the rest of the folks in town.
Philip, did you have something?
At this juncture, my gut instinct is to try to build a consensus and use the facilities committee, charge them with going forward, developing presentation, developing understanding, with an eye towards getting us through next year. I can't remember the last time we had a budget. And at the end of the day, where is the balance here? We didn't see an enormous amount of support this year. Now, in the past, we've allowed bond issues to go and project issues to appear repeatedly, and I suppose there's no compelling reason not to do that. But at some level, we're asked to make difficult decisions by our community. And maybe this is one of those difficult decisions. There's no issue in my mind that space is important and those places need the projects completed. We're also in this maelstrom of change that's going to occur over a multi-year period. It may occur more quickly than we anticipated, but likely over a multi-year period. And so there are lots of things in terms of dynamics that can, may, and will happen that will affect the landscape of the decision and of the needs. And at this juncture, because of those things, because we know more now today than we did a year ago about what that landscape may look like. Here's what we know. If we look at the 1 through 6 classes at the two schools that presently tuition us students, one of them is going to change by 2 students if they stay the same, looking at their 1 through 6, and one of them is going up by 74 students. We're losing the folks who are going down by 2. We won't see that 1 through 6 grades. We will see the 74. So if you look at population, while there's going to be a change, it looks like if there continues to be growth in our neighbors in New Boston, what that's going to look like is not going to be as great as we thought. Okay, because if you just look at the next 6 years, that population is going to grow by 74, and we're going to lose, in theory, 179. So the net change is 100 students, give or take, over 6 grades. It's probably not going to change our space needs. Okay, and it probably doesn't mean we're going to be able to move or relocate students. But this is a back-of-the-envelope analysis that doesn't speak to the professionals in the room who talk about educating our students and talk about space needs in terms of educating our students. So it's an interesting landscape. It's not a I don't want to do, it's a where are we now, where are we likely to be, and what are our needs going to be, and how can we use all of our physical plan to meet those needs. I'm guessing I come to the same conclusion. But are we doing ourselves a favor by looking at the group who's done the hard work that they've done and saying, look, you be the folks who help us to understand that landscape and to market and to identify need and to ask the questions of the community and be better prepared in a year. And it's an observation, it's thinking out loud, so thanks for letting me in on that.
So just to sum though, just so we're clear, you're talking about the building committee.
I'm talking about CIP.
Right, but it sounds like you're connecting. So, I'm like, what is?
Oh.
So you're talking about CIP with our space needs. I'm just trying to
Yeah,
connect.
because, I mean, that's really what we're
Because-
talking about. I mean, you
yeah.
can't have these conversations in isolation.
No,
I don't
you
think.
can't.
And the question is right now, we have a building project on CIP for next year. Is that the right, does the board want to leave it there tonight because we have to make a decision, or do we want to change it? And if you want to change it, do you want to bump it out, do you want to remove it?
I'll say this, if you take it out of CIP now, and later on in the year, we see some changes, and we try to put it back in, we're going to get hammered.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be a problem.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Jenny, you had a question or a comment?
I think that we have to keep in mind the fact of the matter that our building conditions are not going to change, our students' needs are not going to change, and probably the amount of kids that change for the negative is going to be, is not going to be, like Philip just said, enough to make any changes with anything. When we put a bond forth, it has to pass, and then I believe that the project goes over the next 2 years to complete, to be completed. And so, I mean, we kind of have to jump on this somewhere and do some real education and really make people, I understand voters last year, there were so many things, but I think we have to hop on it this year and say, this is really important because, and do you realize that we can make a decision, or we can buy portables and then make a decision and then have portables, and I mean, there's so many things that this needs to be done, and there are people in the community, myself included, that really hate to see a library lost. But those are all decisions that come under, it's really important that this bond is passed, and so that we can get the things done that need to get done for safety, for students, for just the quality of our schools, and for heating, for classrooms where you have 4 different teachers trying to work with busy little children all in the same room, with windows where we put plexiglass up because it's freezing and there are elementary kids in the rooms trying to do work. I mean, we really have to make sure people realize that all of those things are going on, and our teachers are doing an awesome job covering it up and making things happen, but it can't go on forever, and this building doesn't happen overnight. You know, you have to, wait the year, then the bond gets passed or doesn't get passed, and then when it finally does get passed, it's 2 more years out. So all of the safety things that we're starting to need to really look at and spend money on, if we would get that passed, you know, some of those issues wouldn't be as big of issues anymore over the next couple of years. But then on the other hand, and this is where I sit and say, I don't know what the heck to do, because we have teachers who have been working really hard, who do wonderful things in our schools. The C&E meeting on last Monday, it was just like, are you kidding me? All those people are getting together and doing that and pulling this in and pulling that in to learn and to teach and to... So our kids just really are like so far ahead on the Common Core than most towns even dream of being, in my opinion. They can't be expected to do this forever, you know. And we have a budget that would really nice to have a budget passed, because I've never seen a year where the budget committee and the school board has agreed on a budget and it hasn't passed, because the budget committee really goes over that with a fine-tooth comb, and if they feel that that's doable and it's fair and equal to everybody, it usually passes. So there's so many things that we have in the air right now that are money, but that are extremely important that we can't just say, well, we'll get to it later. So I think we have like a huge amount of educating to do, and I, for one, would really like to have some positive support with the information that we put out for a change. Instead of always having a negative spin on the school board, it would be really nice to people to recognize what we do well and put it out there. My soapbox, and I'm sorry.
Dan?
Is the question on the table whether to take what's currently in the CIP and move it forward so that we can go forward? Is there a motion on the floor for that
There
yet?
is no motion. There's no
Oh, well, I'll offer that motion.
I wouldn't, because we hadn't had
Do you wanna
an
make that?
opportunity to...
And she's ready for it?
Are you
to
ready for
really
my motion?
discuss it. If we have no more discussion as it pertains to CIP. Okay.
It's a starting point. And everything right now is still on the table until we can find out. We still have a couple of contracts we want to work on. We don't know where we're going with that. Taking anything off the table right now, I think, is too much work because it's so early in the process.
The only thing I'm going to add is comment on that. If we're going to move forward with the building project, and by the way, my personal opinion is this is not the year to try again. I personally agree that we need to work on our contracts with our support staff and our teachers and get a budget passed. And I think if we throw the building project back on it, we're really significantly reducing the chances of getting anything passed. So, I mean, I personally think that we should ask the renovation committee for the elementary schools to start working on a plan, getting the information out in the public for a potential warrant article in 2015. I'd like to give that direction to the commission.
So you want to take the whole thing and move it out a year?
Is that a motion to take those two lines and just push them forward a year?
Yes, I will make that motion.
Oh, and I'll second it.
Well, both Bartlett and Essex.
Both Bartlett and Nicolette.
Yes, I want to take the two elementary renovation lines.
Line 298 and line
298 and line 306.
No, 306 isn't enough.
303.
303.
And move them out one additional year in the CIP matrix.
Do I have a second? I believe I heard a second from Dan. Do we have more discussion as it pertains to the motion?
Do we know how the community is going to react to that? Is that the sense? Well, that's the way they voted, but
no.
You don't.
You know what?
No, didn't the community vote? They didn't pass it.
Right.
That's correct.
That's what I was saying.
My concern is not. My concern is that I think there's some higher priorities, in my opinion, for next year. And I think if we can issue instructions to the committee, the Elementary Renovation Committee, to plan a year-plus campaign in order to prepare for March 2015. That would be my next motion if we voted affirmative in this, to give that committee some direction.
Okay, Ben, you had something?
Just for purpose of clarification, the $2 million is going to 2015, the 4.5 is going to 2016?
No, 2015.
No,
You're correct.
No, you are correct.
because it's 2 years. It's 2 million in the first year and 4.5 in the second. That's what it says.
Everything associated with that 1 year.
Just an information point.
What?
Just an information point. The project was valued at $14.5 million in March of 2013. The contractor, an architect, agreed to hold that price if it went back on the ballot for March of 2014. We're talking about a push-out now, and if we can assume cost escalation, even 2.5%, we'd probably add $250,000 to the project.
And if that point, I would also add, I don't know that you have commitment. We have commitment from the construction company.
That's right.
Beyond there.
Right, I agree.
Just so it may require us to go back out to bid or process that.
Did I see your hand, sir?
No.
No, okay.
And my comment is, I'm simply looking at what is realistic for us to do for the March of 2014. I look at what's realistic, and I look at what's a little more important. I gotta say, our budget and contracts just, I feel, are more important next year to be taken care of, and then work on the renovation. It's not that I don't think the renovations are important, but, our teachers and support staff, I think, really do deserve a contract.
They'll add to the negotiating teams.
Well, if you negotiate something, then I want to be able to get the voters to say yes to it.
Which side?
Do we have any further discussion on the motion on the table, which is to bump out the renovations at Bartlett and Maple for 1 year on both of their lines, which is going to change one of their lines to 2015 and then to 2016? All in favor of the motion as presented?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 5-4.
5-0.
5-0-4.
Motion
The
passes.
motion passes.
Can I make a motion now to
Can we
direct...
finish the CIP first?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Portables are next.
Right, and this is it, we're getting a little...
So it makes sense to move portables out a year.
Yeah, because you're doing portables there, you don't.
Well,
Portables,
portables are looking at next year.
Yeah, I wouldn't make any changes to that yet.
That sounds quick.
I think we have other decisions that we have to make before we can bump those out yet.
What year is the portables now?
Next year.
2000.
Right, we've got 2014.
2014 is really September 1 or July 1 of 2014. Not the
No, this
13,
would-
14 school year.
This would be the last 6 months of the 13-14 school year, or the first.
Yeah, usually it's
the
the,
town.
we go to the July 1 of
Yes.
14 budget.
Was is CIP running on a January 1 to 12/31
It's the
calendar?
town's budget schedule, calendar.
So where that is at in 2014 would be portables would go in for September of 2014. They would go into that July 1 budget as a, because we don't have it in next year's budget, so you could put it in.
9 months prior, or 6 months prior to the vote for a new building.
Yeah.
Building.
And I'm saying,
I don't
right
know
now,
if
we
this
can
makes
decide whether to
sense.
put them or not, but I think if we pull them out or push them off, it may not be in our best interest, because we may have to have them. We may get feedback and saying,
It doesn't-
Get 'em, you'll never
well,
let you go in.
if-
I would make a motion to move them out in the same way we just moved out.
Move them out a year.
Yes.
So where they are currently in proposed CIP for 2014, the motion on the table is to move the portables out to proposed CIP for 2015.
Second.
Seconded by Suzanne.
my only concern with that is, what if we have to replace any existing portables? That's why I was kind of keeping it in there. Maybe we're not adding new ones or something, but
The only thing I can think of would be taking portables and somehow getting them behind the building at Maple Ave, so that they're not in the front of the building. And then, sunset is not the word, but decommissioning the existing portable services. That's the only thing I can
I'm
think
saying
of.
that could be a potential. I guess I don't want to tie our hands, because I don't know if in 2015 March, we're going to discover before the election, are we bringing the bond forward or not? I think...
Once you leave the portables in, you can only pull them out later.
I think, we'll have a better idea in 6-7 months whether we think we're going to be pushing them out or not. I'd like to leave them there as a real potential that we may have to buy one.
So you're talking about logically, it doesn't make sense for new ones. Replacement ones, I can
It's a potential.
logically look at, but I can't logically say, you're going to add portables, and then we're going to go 6 months later and say, we need new buildings.
No, that's not, I wouldn't use it for that. The only way I would say buy more additional ones is if we decide we're not moving forward with the bond in 2015.
You're,
In 15?
Too far down the road.
There's a lot way down there.
You're engaging in speculation about a plan that hasn't been proposed and is not recommended, and I think we're straying too far. What we're being asked to make a decision on is a CIP proposal. There are portables in the CIP proposal which are meant to serve a specific purpose. The only question, which my motion spoke to, was when for that purpose. Okay.
I personally feel that we should leave it now and know that we may potentially push it out a year, but not to make that decision yet.
Any further discussion? All right, so the motion on the table is to push out the portables from proposed 2014 to 2015. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Three, six, that leaves no abstentions. Okay, so that motion fails.
So we'll stay in 2014
Yeah.
for now. So on page 2, I have,
Before we leave, leasing or purchasing?
Oh, gee. Right.
Thank you, Ray.
You just can't help but throw it in the stone, can you? In it right now, how do we have it in there for
Both
leasing?
ways.
Yeah,
Have it in both ways.
Why don't we leave it for both ways?
Let it ride.
Yeah.
All right, let's let it ride.
Can we do that? We need to
Yes.
make a
It's going to be
decision.
pretty tough to defend.
Right,
in a
I'm
present.
thinking we do well to
Something that I ask.
to make a decision.
You would like it
on
one way or the other, is that?
Yes.
Yes.
I would propose that we leave it in as a lease. Yes. Not as a purchase.
If you're going to have it in 2014, that would make much more sense.
Yes.
Because it's a one-year solution while new construction is occurring.
So I will make a motion to leave the portables in the year 2014 as a lease, not a purchase.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ben. Do I have comments or discussion?
What lines are those? Ray?
It'd be 296 and 297.
I
304,
5.
I guess my big question
You gotta be both
is any
Wow, that's
future
expensive.
use, if we would be able to put them. I know we've talked about different use in the past. If this was a purchase, is this something we could reasonably employ? Is there a resale value? Do we know what
That was a good resale value.
I'm sorry, Suzanne?
I said the resale value is usually not,
Usually
or
not
not.
It's very limited. We've given them away basically in the
Yeah.
past.
Okay.
Get them off the lot.
Get them out of here.
Let me, if I could inquire about the lease, I see the lease amount there. Would that be a firm, fixed lease for a term, for a period of time? So if you...
60 months
But the 147,453 is...
purchase price.
Yeah, but that
Oh,
lease,
so the 32,000 is the lease. Got it.
but we can do it year by year if we want.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So after a year, we can say, we're done. See you later, bye-bye.
Don't know.
There's a lot of underneath costs and build-up costs, too, so it's not just
Set up
as
the
easy as...
The 32,000 is for a 5-year lease. I don't think you can walk away after 1 year.
Can you get a cost for a lease if we do it year by year?
We'll make the request, yes.
And basically put that into CIP?
so like a 1
As
year
part of
lease
my
at a
motion?
time.
Yeah.
That seems kind of...
Oh, again, folks, we got to go to press tonight.
How about we just make it it's 32,000 if we do a 5-year. What if we change that number to 45,000? That would probably cover us to do a year-by-year contract.
Well, so that's, I'm thinking.
It's a random guess.
You know, I think what
It's a
we
good
have
guesstimate,
right now.
that's what it is.
Let's find out where, oh, Hank, you've got
And
some?
question, Ray, when you read this up, Ray, why did you do one, lease and purchase?
That was the instruction issued by the board, was to put all alternatives out here on the matrix.
It
It
would
does
be
look like
cheaper
the
if you
lease is
had
more
it for a number of years. It would not be cheaper if you wanted to rent it and
Well,
ship
if
it
you're going to
off.
get a 60-month lease at that price, cheaper to buy one.
I agree,
It is.
if you're going to have it for a full 5 years.
And
Okay.
if you make a 60-month lease, I don't think they're going to let you break it.
Correct, and I think one of the comments was, Ray, was to see if he can get a price for what happens if we can get a one with an optional annual renewal for
I don't know if
4
we
years.
can do it in time,
Yeah,
because he says we gotta go
do
to press
need
tonight.
to go to press.
Right, so you come up with a,
What I'm interested in knowing is
Chris can amend it.
where the board stands on the motion as far as lease
The motion is
versus
to leave
purchase.
296 and get rid of 297, and leave 304 and get rid of 305. Those are line numbers.
Yeah, the motion is to leave it in as a lease rather than a purchase.
So basically.
And with the money being there, we have enough money for only a year or two as well.
And it's in 2014.
Yeah.
Okay, so all in favor of leaving the portables in as a lease as opposed to a purchase, please signify by raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
I'm sorry, I still don't have a count of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 opposed, 2 abstained. Were you opposed or abstained? Abstained. 2. Okay, the motion carries.
There you go.
What else do we have?
So
We've got windows and boilers. See Honeywell I have?
Yep, so I have all this. So on page 2, the questions that came up were on line 315, replacement of all exterior doors, and on 322, gymnasium and cafeteria doors. The question was, do you want them in there? These are getting them all done at the same time, or do you want them a couple a year like we have been doing in the budget, where it doesn't go on CIP then, it just goes in the budget? So do you want to do a couple at a time, or do you want to do them all at once?
I'm sorry, I had notes all over my sheet. What's the aggregate?
It's 45,600 and 64,000.
109,600 for both, but they're in 2 different years. 64,000
Yep.
in 15 and 45,600 in 16.
So again, given that it's out, you could keep it the same and discuss it later, but it's a new item on CIP because it's looking to do them all at one time versus 2 or 3 at a time.
We can always give direction during the summer. Whatever.
I agree with leaving them.
And then the last question would be, I have on here, unless anybody else has one, was the GHS theater track and field 2014. Where would you like that? 2007.
Right.
Once again, I think I would make a motion to push it out to the year 2015.
So 2015. Suzanne, did I hear you second that? All right, so we have a motion on the table to move the GHS theater infrastructure improvement in the track and field venue from 2015 to 2015.
Now, is that the same year?
As the renovation, yeah.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, because right now, they're really trying to figure out next year, so by pushing it out, we give them a little bit of space for next year.
Excuse me, is that sending a message that we're thinking about putting it in the same year, though?
Putting in a what?
Both the elementary school facilities and the track in the same year?
That's
not a decision that we have to make.
Anybody who's watched this over the last
5
2
years,
meetings
yeah.
or 5 years understands that doesn't mean anything more than it's there for the time being.
I just needed it part of the discussion that it's only a placeholder.
Does not mean
So
we're
I
going to
wanted
go about
to-
2015.
All right, do we have any further discussion regarding moving?
Oh, we didn't take a vote on that.
No, because I'm asking if there's any further discussion before I call for the vote.
Oh, okay.
I see a divorce in this.
All right, all in favor of moving line 319, GHS Theater Infrastructure Improvement, construction of storage facility and track and field venue from its place currently in 2014 to 2015 in the CIP matrix, please signify by raising your hand.
I'm saying aye.
You're saying aye?
I'm
Okay.
raising my hand saying
You know, the visual helps me. It just, so
Nope,
I can
no
look
problem.
to
I'm there for it.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We find ourselves unanimous.
Wow.
You know, just a comment.
Now you need a motion to approve CIP
Diane,
as just
so
amended it.
just a comment.
Yes.
Moving all this stuff out, when you're still going to give them indigestion because they're going to look at the vote in 2015.
Really, and when you look at what the other departments are sending into, I think it's a permanent case
Just a
of
comment.
congestion.
So,
Not to,
do you need a motion to move it forward as amended?
I do need that motion.
He already made it.
I heard
He made it.
it from
And I seconded it, so we're already there.
And Suzanne. So Dan, you need to get with the
I'm quick with my
program.
second, you gotta get it.
Didn't hear.
All right, so all in favor of moving the CIP metric forward as amended, please. Signify 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We are unanimous on CIP. All right, you guys, thank you for all your discussion and work on discussing CIP. All right, now we are at old business C, review of board decision on library classroom. Based on the last couple of meetings, the different questions, a different conversation around the table, Jerry had looked into a third option if it were just some costs of moving the portable out back at Maple where they have the flat spot and the doors by the, if I understand it correctly, the first grade wing, Jerry? It was about $27,000. That was the cost to move it, to reskirt it. That's fire suppression to connect it to the building, as well as the ramps.
There's some new code issues.
Okay.
Of course.
Complied with.
So basically by moving it, and so if I can reframe that, it's just that through my conversation with Diana, the question came up kind of like, is there another option? And so we had a discussion around this, and so I asked Jerry to just research it to get us an estimated cost. It's a minimum of $27,000. There's a couple of things to note. One is there's no guarantee the portable will move and be in one place. It is 13 years old since that we've had it. Jerry reminded me that it was about 6 years old when we bought it. So it is about 20 years
Yeah.
old, which is
It's nearing the
probably
end of its
about the
natural
year of its
lifespan.
life. So there's no guarantee if we ask to have it moved that it will actually move. As Jerry said, with this cost, he hadn't talked to the fire department to see what other code requirements are there. We do have to meet all code now when it moves. The other piece is you cannot put another portable in its current location without meeting code. So because it's there, it's kind of grandfathered into its
Right.
location. If we put it there, so moving it requires some extra code, like it needs a second ramp out the back. It needs a fire suppression system, so there's lots of things that will go into play to do that. We cannot then put a new portable, so if we look at that other portable at some point in time, it cannot go on that front without meeting all the new code requirements, which I don't know about. But even access from the road, how far that has to be in, I don't know what that even looks like, whether you would be able to replace another portable in that location. So that was a question that came up. So I would say it's roughly around $27,000, but could be more to do that.
It looks like it could be considerably more.
Yeah, about
Especially if it fell apart.
$147,500.
So, again, I think the dialogue, going back to the beginning of this conversation around the classroom and the portable and where to go and what to do, was really based around Suzanne's concern and conversations with parents. Every year we get requests that parents don't want their children in the portables. And so Suzanne, really had to think about it and really had wanted to think outside of the box a lot, and I was not in support of it at first. We sat down and we looked at the process, we looked at the plans. I felt comfortable after meeting with Suzanne and Linda that they had really, really thought this out in what was the best interest of children, how to get them into school, but also make sure that the library was accessible. Is this the best scenario? No. Like, I don't think there is the best scenario is that we would have gotten a new school and been able to do that. What I can tell you is my conversations with Suzanne and Linda have been solid. They have been working on a plan. They have it arranged so that there's multiple locations. There'll be, I believe, one bigger area where there'll be kind of in-house library. Yes, it is the under the stairs, but I will tell you right now, we have band there, we have strings there. I mean, there's lots of kids who use that space already, so it is not an unused space. And I
the books.
Yeah. So those students will be moved elsewhere. I do have confidence in both Suzanne and Linda that they will make this work and they will make it a nice space. They've thought outside of the box. They've looked at an area where one of the little things that they're looking to do is have fourth graders write recommendations of books for first graders, so that the fourth graders can say, here's a book that I read when I was in first grade, you'll love it, and then have those books available. So I think they're thinking outside of the box on how to make books available to students, as well as having classroom libraries. So if they're doing a unit on butterflies or whatever, that classrooms will have the access to all of those books on that topic. But there will be lots of opportunities for students to still have books in their hand. I think the flip side of this is to also consider now third grade parents going into fourth grade. Suzanne's gotten lots of comments from those parents thanking her for thinking outside of the box, that they're happy that their children are not having to be in the portables and that they're not having to come and say, I don't want to have my child in the portable. Can you make arrangements for them to be in the school? I don't think we made this decision. I know Suzanne did not make this decision light-handed because she is dealing with it, and I think she's confident in the decision. I'm confident in her decision. Is it the best of all worlds? Absolutely not. Again, the best of all worlds would be that we would have a new school that would have a library and classroom space for all of our children. But this was a solution to a problem that has come up over and over again. I believe the teachers who are scheduled to be in the portable next year are very happy to be in the building with their peers. I think we put an extra burden on teachers who are out there. They're in charge of their own security. If something happens, they have to figure out they're not connected to the building. So I put that out as kind of my perspective on the time and energy that I do believe administration has looked at this and found that after looking at all of it, that this was the best solution out of the worst possible solutions that out of none of them are great solutions, but this was the best solution to solve the problem of ensuring that children are all in the school and are safe.
Keith? All right, I'm going to spew everything I have in my mind going out on this. One, I understand the security issues with having the portables out there. I prefer to see the portables brought to the back of the building and connected to the building for several reasons. One, we're going to provide proper egress to the buildings for the kids. Two, it will now have a sprinkler suppression system, which it doesn't currently have, and it'll be directly connected to the building where they can come in the doors, and they're not in a situation where they got to cross a road or, a non-custodial parent trying to kidnap or anything like that. It solves those issues. It leaves the library where it is. And I actually, over the last 2 weeks, made numerous visits to Maple Ave and checked out the library. What I saw was a library being used. And I will share one anecdotal story. There was actually 2 kids in there talking about the different books they read. And they were conversing about the themes of those 2 books. And that's something that doesn't happen in the classroom, because during reading time, it's quiet reading time in the classroom. This is the opportunity for them to share about their experiences in reading books. So I think we're going to be losing something valuable. I really think that the library is an important place to have in our schools. We've fought hard to have libraries at both Bartlett and at Maple Ave over the years. And to take it away, I have real concerns. I understand we're putting it in, and I appreciate everybody's work and ideas, and this is part of the reason why I'm a little hesitant to take the $200,000 out of the reserve, because So I'd rather take some of that reserve money and move the portables, make it an appropriate learning environment and safety environment, and still have our library. Because on half my visits, when I stopped by Maple Ave, the smart room was being used. One was by a whole class, and the other was by about, I think, 8 students. So it is used, and I want to continue to make that available. And the librarian, I think, needs to be there for the smart room to work well as run the library. So my thoughts are to move it on the back, and I think that's the safe way to do it. I understand we're losing some playground area, that it's a little bit disturbing, but I think we're addressing the safety needs. We're actually making it safer by the fact that it will have a fire suppression system as well in that building, and it'll leave our library intact.
Bathrooms?
They come right in the doors. They won't have to go outside. They have to go outside right now to go to the bathroom, come to the main building.
So
It still will. Well, yeah, but they'll be connected right where those doors are.
I don't think you can. You can't connect, the fire department says you can't connect it to the building.
Jerry, can you bring that up to me? Can you address that?
Yeah, as long as we bring in fire suppression and have all of the tied into the alarm system, I'm still waiting to connect with
Yeah,
Bill.
because
But we had a conversation.
it was never
about-
allowed before.
Right, we have to bring them up to
It
code.
triggers
No.
everything. I mean, then do you heat that space? Do you?
I could never figure out why, but that was absolutely not allowed to connect it to the building. You know, I built a ramp with a little roof over it, so they couldn't do that.
It was never allowed, yeah.
Yeah, but my understanding is they'll do it as long as you bring the building up to code.
Maybe. I would
Yeah,
definitely
these,
check
and
it.
honestly, these were very, very preliminary conversations that we've had. We've not looked. These were Jerry calling around to say, okay, what would this be? What would that be?
My concern would be, if that thing is almost 20 years old, moving it could
That's my
destroy it.
concern.
But it's not really a safe structure to put kids in, even if you have the library out there. And I think losing the library is, from what I saw,
agree.
the kids using it, I
agree,
really
but-
don't like losing the library. It bothered me after I saw how it was
consider
being
losing.
used.
Sorry.
We just have to think differently. We're not losing it.
Dan had his hand up.
Hypothetically, and I'm going to mirror what Suzanne said, hypothetically, it's a $27,000 fix if everything is pristine and it works. Unlikely. It could be add 147 to it, so you're talking about $200,000.
Now you know why I don't want to put the roof out of the
Is there-
reserve fund.
Well, the thing is, do you want to keep the library, or you want the kids getting rained on? I am being overly...
Simple.
Yeah, but it's not being rained on but a roof is a roof. A workable solution is, we don't have a workable solution yet for Mountain View unless we can get some of them big blue tarps and put them on the top and just bang. That might help it a little bit. Is there enough room for 2 double wides out there?
No.
Yeah, that's Jerry.
No, we'd have to ask.
Take up the
Well,
whole
the only reason I'm saying this is to do the one other, because with the 2 double wides, we've now got 4 classrooms back there, 2 existing, 2 more. We're looking to add more room for
Oh, we
everybody.
wouldn't be able to put another double back there, no.
Well, that, I'm not familiar with, that's what I'm thinking, but what happens now is that in an area where the extra building would be as part of our plan for building. So that would be out of the way anyway.
Well, it would be on the blacktop in the back where the
I'm not
blacktop
familiar with
playground
it.
is. It would probably take up half of that space, so you would virtually lose the blacktop part of the playground.
And I'm looking at the, 27,000 is an expensive move in anticipation of us asking for a bond to rebuild the building, I think. I mean, if we have a 2-year move, it's a big gulp. We put our name in the
Well, the
ring
portable
to
would
come
be
over
used
here
for
and
a
make a
minimum of
vote.
3
It's
years.
a tough decision, but
We'd have to use it for a minimum of 3 years. If we approve the bond in 2015, it would be used for 3 years. This year, next year, and the year during
I don't
construction.
think we can move that over there and have a success with it. A 19, 20-year-old building creaking, and, I mean, unless it's on wheels, unless it's a camper that's on wheels, you just hitch it up and pull it. It wasn't made to be moved after it settles in.
Jerry would have to answer. I don't know what's involved in
They
moving
would
it.
more than likely, it comes in two sections.
Right, because it's a
They would
double
have to
wide.
separate it.
It's not on wheels on a
And
steel
hope the
frame. you know?
integrity is still there.
What's still there?
The integrity of the building,
Oh.
putting it back together.
Hank, you have your hand up? I saw a
Yeah.
hand in that direction.
Can somebody give me a comparison between Bartlett's arrangement and what we're proposing, what's being proposed for Maple Ave?
A little bit different in the sense that, well, one is that Bartlett has a part-time librarian, so that makes a little bit of a difference, so access is limited more, and so teachers can take their class out. The other is that to go to Bartlett, you're not crossing anything, it's the playground,
Sure, yeah.
you know, so you're just walking out the back door to the portable. At Maple Ave, the difference is really that the in and out is you're crossing the street. And so the goal of this project would be to take those two classrooms, move them into the building, move the library, the books, the shelves out to the portable, create mini libraries within the school, so that students would still have full access to books, but we would eliminate the crossing of the street to get to anything out in the portable.
Okay. The security then is the crossing of the street. Because
The security is probably several things. You
Because
know, it's
Bartlett's-
crossing of the street, it's the safety in the building, it's
Lack
the
of a suppression
access.
system.
Well, the security of Bartlett's that's in the back and it's not visible too much from the building, right?
And unfortunately, at Maple Ave recently, there's been 2 lockdowns for community-based
It's right in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Right.
stuff, so
And so we have to, and Susan, so when we have a lockdown, those students leave the portable and come into the school. If we have that. If we have that, so it's finding space for them. So I think there's a lot of conversation and dialogue that went into this, including parents of every class of 3rd grade who Suzanne, I'm guessing, gets dozens of letters saying, please don't put my child in the portable.
So maybe the solution is to get a part-time librarian.
Oh, jeez. Now you're moving further away from where we need to be.
What do you mean, Hank? What do you mean?
Similar to Bartlett.
Our librarian there does more than just run the library there.
It's a full-time right
Yeah,
now.
Maple Ave has a
We
full-time
have a
librarian.
full-time
A gifted
librarian.
media specialist, there's no doubt.
Yeah.
And she has done a wonderful job on trying to solve this and has really thought outside of the box on ensuring, and I think she's probably as dedicated as Suzanne is to this, to making it work, and making sure that it works. And I guess I would say that I would ask that we give it an opportunity and, review it in a year.
Does she call it ideal, or is it the really?
I don't think this is,
Nobody's
it's
gonna
not
call anything
ideal.
ideal.
Nobody would say this is ideal.
Yeah, I mean, I
I
think,
think Linda would say that she wants a library. Every librarian wants a library. Every school wants it. I want a library for the school. This is not our goal, but in this situation, this is the best solution. So does she want a library? Absolutely. And would she say this is her choice? No. But she is dedicated to making it work, and she has thought outside of the box and is dedicated to making that happen. I don't think we're going to see kids with less books in their hand or less opportunities to read.
Ben?
Talking about moving and everything, has it been determined that the building is structurally sound to be moved at this point in time? Or are we just talking about something that if we agree to move it, all of a sudden you can't move because the building's going to fall apart?
Yeah, I don't think we have a professional opinion about that, because I
That's
don't
all
know that
about this
anybody will give us
discussion.
opinion.
Isn't this discussion then moot without knowing whether or not we can even move it? I think that's the whole crux of the matter. We're talking about something that if we agree to move it and it's told we can't move it, then where do we stand?
So moving it I don't think was any administrator's recommendation at any point in time. This was a, do
Then I
we
think
think
we
of
need to
another
look at
option?
whether or not it is feasible. And a 20-year-old building, I don't think is going to be able to be moved sufficiently and to meet all current codes. For $26,000, it may be as a start.
Yeah, it's definitely 26 is the low end.
And you're looking at that to go up.
This is something that hasn't been looked into thoroughly. It is an attempt to find another solution.
Agreed. It is not the best of all possible worlds, but we don't live in a perfect world. We have to make do with what we have.
Right, I was just explaining the nature of the discussion thus far. As far as the quote and whatnot. Greta, you have something?
Yeah, I had a couple questions. One is, what happens if we don't do anything this year? I mean, is that even possible? And then the other question is, it sounds like we have parents that are unhappy about the library going into the portable. We also have parents that are unhappy with the classroom being in the portable. Where does that stand? I mean, what is of greater concern? And I mean, it sounds like we got people on both sides that are not happy, and we need to know where does it all lie, and what if we don't do anything this year, like everything else, we're going to push it off because we're waiting to see what's going to happen in the building.
If I may, 2 meetings ago, we already made a decision, so we have to reverse that decision at this point. And I will not vote in favor of reversing the decision because it was contemplated the first time, as bad as it is. What I'm hoping for is for a 2-year temporary movement of this so that we can get the building committee to do what they do what we did tonight, to have the school built for the expected number of students that we have. So it's like a 2-year ouch. And if it doesn't work and we don't get a bond passed, I think we come back and say, let's put a new double wide out back and make it do what we can. Not move the current one.
It's not at all frustrating to find ourselves in the same position that we're getting something which is an improvement in terms of safety and all the kids in the building, and we're giving up something. Not something that, and I'll tell you, if I just got to vote on what I was giving up, I never would have voted in favor of it. But because what I individually and what our community is giving up is something that strikes me as being vitally important, or at least the notion of library is. But it sounds as though through a couple of different mechanisms we're cobbling together a solution that represents my notion of library. I can only speak for myself, I'm sorry. And what's important about that, and kids having access to books, and not necessarily just reading for information books, but reading for pleasure, and being inquisitive, and sort of falling into a world of imagination that books offers. And to the extent that we're finding a way to preserve that, whether it's for 10 or 15 students at a time, minimally mollifies how incensed I feel at the fact that there's not going to be a library in the building. There's going to be a solution for a library in the building.
And really, what's in place now is a very vital program. It's vibrant. There's so much good that goes on. And I said it 4 weeks ago. It's a loss. There is no other way around it where we may be gaining. It is a loss. It has a lot of human resources have gone into building it over the years that it's been there. I wasn't aware that it was a fight to get one. That was certainly before my time, but...
Well, we had a real library, I should say.
Yeah,
Oh my goodness.
The library started out in
Years.
closets.
Yes.
Years, yeah.
You have a library there now because of the 1990 building project. That's where you
Is that
got
what
it.
that was?
Yeah.
And Mother's Club were the
librarians,
librarians
right.
for a jillion years.
All of us wanted to do Decimal
We
System.
did,
So there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of human resources that went into building. There's a lot of financial resources.
I guess, Diane, I would say, knowing Linda Mastretta, knowing Suzanne and her team, I don't think they're going to lose their library. They're going to use it differently than most places do, but they're not going to lose it. Linda would never let that happen.
And I would add that the dialogue around this began because of not the library conversation, but the volume of parents
Who don't
year
want
after
their kids
year
in the portable.
who don't want their kids in the portable. That's where the conversation and dialogue
Go out and
started.
vote, yes.
I don't think I'm overreacting about different safety things that have come up in schools lately, but I think they're in our face, and I think they have been, especially this year. And I hate the idea of not having a library that kids can use, but I also really am concerned about kids walking back and forth and crossing streets. I would feel better about our decision if I knew that classrooms could go out there with a teacher now and then, and we got updates as to exactly what's going on, because a lot of families don't bring their kids to the library anymore, or to the bookstore. And so I think kiddos really have to, through the public school system, be able to go and put their hands on 3 books and bring them home for the week. And I don't think a lot of kids have that availability because, their parents aren't around when the library's open, and, bedtime and whatever when they finally get home. So I would feel more comfortable if I knew that classes were being able to go out there and that kids could have 3 books that they can bring home on a weekly basis or whatever.
I mean, we have, and Suzanne, I'm kind of looking through you to Suzanne, who's, I don't know what the policy on how many books kids, I mean, kids can take out whatever their books are. And I guess I would,
So like in first grade, you
get one.
Okay, yeah.
So I guess I would say I don't think that Suzanne would object to coming back in November or December and giving you an update with Linda on how it's going, what's working, what's not working, and the positives and minuses. I guess I would say that Linda is dedicated to having a library, and she is going to make this work no matter what. I mean, she will make it work.
I don't doubt that Linda will do what she can to make it work as well as it can. I don't think it's going to be what we have now, but I know she will work her hardest. My question now for Suzanne is, I know you guys contemplated moving it out there and saying, okay, kids can go out there, but you decided not to do that. I don't know if the board knows why you decided that, and if you wouldn't mind sharing that with us this evening. Why we're not putting the library out there and letting kids go out there?
Well, 2 reasons, Keith. One is that our portable being older than Bartlett's, it's not as large, so the whole library wouldn't fit out there anyway.
Okay.
And number 2 is we're still introducing children to the driveway, crossing the driveway, and I think that's the safety issue is still there. And they don't go as a class. They go with 4 children.
Right. So I love Ginny's concern, but it's not feasible to do it that way. I'm just not ready to give up a library.
I think I remember Lisa talking to us a couple of weeks ago saying it's difficult in your day. To actually, you'd have to plan actual time to be able to do that.
You would.
But you do send kids 4, sometimes 5 at a time.
But they're doing that while other instruction's going on in the
Right.
classroom.
But they're actually going there and they're actually talking as a group. How are we going to foster or
That's still
continue to
gonna happen.
foster that?
There'll still be a space that the kids can go.
Because that's my biggest concern is,
We're not taking that away. There'll still be like a little annex library that will have a table that kids can go and talk and look at books. I envision that being somewhat similar to the one room where she's looking to put the bulk of books.
Yeah, especially for our 1st and 2nd grade, we want to make sure that the early reader selection, her collection is with her, and her book nooks, that's what she's calling that larger room. We can fit 12 shelving units around the perimeter of that room, so she can put her whole early reader collection in there. She'll spend time with specific 1st and 2nd on how the library works and provide that support. The room right across the hallway.
Where's this reading, this library, what do you call, where is that area?
It's the room under the stairs.
Where there's piano
Double
store,
wide.
right? Yeah, okay.
Where they have music class right now.
And literacy place, her plan is to put her chapter books, that collection along with nonfiction, and that would be open with her support, open for our older students. Along with weekly deliveries to each classroom of baskets of books, either the teacher ordered or that Linda's recommending to the class.
And Suzanne, I'll let you fill in the details. But there's no shortage of interesting stories about how we have used space at Bartlett in the past to achieve a multiplicity of purposes in the same room. Space is and will continue to be an issue for us. I think to the credit of the professionals who are doing the work, it's their commitment that's more important than the square footage.
Anything else?
It's not ideal.
All right, thank you. Moving on to update on the interim superintendent search.
We do have a finalist. The committee has chosen a finalist. We're not at liberty to give out the name because this individual is currently in another district. So we have to wait till after the SAU meeting where we may or may not, hopefully we will ratify our recommendation from the interim search committee. And we're doing that on the 28th of May, where the interim search committee will meet from 6:30 to 7, and then we're looking from 7 to 7:30 for the interim search committee to meet with the board in non-public, share why we came to this decision and what we had, and then at 7:30 allow the full SAU board the chance to meet and talk with the candidate.
In public?
In public, yes.
And you're expecting to have a vote at the exact time without information given to us prior? I know it's difficult in an SAU, but that's what you're telling us.
I'm thinking maybe we can get it to you on Monday.
I mean, is there any way in the RSA 91A to be able to share the hiring of an individual without the documents being public until after? I'm not sure.
We have to be non-public to do that. I don't think we can do it by email because public.
I don't either, because that's a public, so what I'm trying to do is find a solution, because we're going to talk about the MVMS principal search and how we got updated at the same time the general public gets updated. This only gives us a half an hour preemptive strike to then make a decision.
Okay, let's think it through.
We divvy up and parse out the responsibilities of the board, and we trust that whoever the governing body selects will discharge the responsibility that's been invested in them, and come back to us with basically a decision made. You then have a choice as an individual member of the board to say thumbs up or thumbs down. I'm not sure that there's a good way to avoid that. I mean, you know, it's unfortunate that one of the other searches played out the way it did, but I think that group discharged their responsibility as they were instructed. If somebody had come back and said, hey, by the way, there's only one candidate of 18, I don't know, that might have been...
Have you segued away from...
Well, no, I actually haven't.
Come back with us.
I haven't.
I'm just trying to get
right.
which
I mean,
piece in my mind is I'm hearing.
The point that I'm trying to make is simply that you give somebody a responsibility and a charge to do a job, and they come back with a response and a recommendation. if you had wanted to participate, if any of us had wanted to participate in the process, we had that opportunity. I don't know a good way to change the dynamic of the process in order to meet a need that exists today.
There might actually be, I could ask the candidate if they're willing to let the information out on Monday. There's a good possibility that I can.
You know what, it'll be in the paper before we even get to see him again. That's just...
We need a chance to vote on it.
Because I think that in that
Well,
situation,
we
it's
do, we
complex,
do.
and the board needs the real info.
Well, here's the alternative. We could, in non-public today, disclose it to the board, as long as it remains non-public until that week.
Those are the rules of non-public.
So if we go into non-public, I'll gladly provide more information.
We will be on a
We
couple
will
of
be in non-public.
I'll gladly do that.
and it's under the guise of hiring.
Yep.
I think we have a couple reasons to do.
Just, yeah, I mean, the only thing I would question, could just make sure this board recognizes that this is not the governing board
Right.
for the
I'm just
superintendent
updating
and the
you.
SAU board. So I just,
should disclose to
yeah.
I don't think you should.
I'm sorry, say that again?
We are the governing body.
Excuse me. Where is the meeting on the 28th?
At the high school here.
Here? Okay.
Yeah, and I've got another.
To
meeting that
disclose? We have to
I'm
wait
just not
till we
sure.
have the, okay.
The commitment that was made was just not to have it go public before the end of May.
I'm just saying that I'm not sure of that because we aren't the governing body. Regardless of the dual capacity suggestion, I don't know that without the authority of the governing body that you can do that. I don't know that you can.
I think, yeah, I mean, if you turned it around and took Keith out of the equation and said, Wendy was the SAU board chair, and Wendy shared with New Boston and not with the other two boards, would that be okay?
Well, I would say, I would email the other two boards and say that in non-public, you can get updated by one of your members that was at the committee.
But this committee is not
Because-
functioning as a Goffstown committee. It's
No.
functioning as an SAU committee.
But-
And therefore, it shouldn't be dispensing information.
The more I'm thinking about it, the more I think we do need to stay true to the
Don't
process,
agree.
which
Yeah.
is...
Don't agree, only because it was purposely made that a representative from each of the individual school boards were on the executive committee so that they could do this sort of thing.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't hear that.
You probably didn't hear it, but that's in concept. That's what
And I
an
know you
SAU
didn't hear because you don't hear
is.
anything.
That's I cut my ear like this. But that's what an SAU is. It's three boards
Yeah,
to be able
I'm
to
sorry,
share
I'm not
in.
comfortable with that at all.
Anyway,
I mean, it ensures that the boards have representation at the table, but I don't know that it's implied that that representation is for the board reporting purposes so much as it's for representation and having a voice at the table.
And may I say,
Yes,
just
you may.
recently, there was some information that went out that didn't include one of the towns, and they were upset about it. So I know when a thing went out in the newspaper about Dumbarton that I didn't know about being on. So I think things get out and it's inappropriate, and I think we have to be really careful. If someone has asked us not to have
Right.
this information out, then I think then we have to honor that.
I guess the other thing.
And unless every one of us wants to be on every committee to make sure that we're in on every piece of comment, of every decision, then we really kind of have to, like Philip said, sit back and ask those questions when we get to the spot and put, trust our committee members and then question, and we can always vote no.
Well,
if we
that's
don't
it.
like their candidate.
There's a reason for a vote.
I think
There's a
right.
reason you have a vote at the end of the meeting or whenever you have the
I think
meeting.
we can accommodate, will actually be an interview for the rest of the board to interview him or her based upon our recommendation. We can do that interview thing as non-public. And then, so I think the best way to do it so that everybody at the SAU table gets a chance to know before it goes public, and has a chance to have a say on it before anything goes public, we'll simply do it as a non-public for the entire portion of the interview.
And I agree with everything we said about subcommittees and so, but I somehow put the hiring of a superintendent and a high school principal slightly above approving some of the other things we've been talking about.
But you still have a vote.
Absolutely.
You know, you still have a vote, and
But
you
one
can
of
say
the-
yes or no, and
Agreed.
you can look over the resumes that they've I mean, there's
If
all of
that
that
could be provided to us. One of the things
information.
that the policy manual says is that we shall be given all the information that we possibly can get in order to make an informed decision. And what I was trying to do was have the ability to potentially do due diligence in the interim, which you can do in days that you can't do in minutes.
Right.
That's where I was coming. That's the only place I was coming from.
Maybe we need to have the information about this candidate from Mountain View, not the
No,
confidential
no,
part,
we're
but
not
the generic.
talking,
We're
we're
talking about
not talking about
superintendent.
Mountain View right now. We are on
Okay.
superintendent. As soon as I close out
I
superintendent,
don't have
then
anything else to say.
that is the next.
528, 6.
6:30 and then 7 o'clock.
6:30?
6:30?
6:30 to 7 is
Here.
the interim committee. So
Is
we
the
want,
committee.
we want to put together some notes and be able to share with you
Yeah.
7
why we came
o'clock
to the
is the
conclusion
annual
we
Come
did.
at 7.
Okay,
So at 7,
o'clock.
we'll give you that information, and at 7:30, we'll ask the candidate to come in for the final interview. Because our goal was, we wanted to share with you why we made the decision we did, so that you guys get a little bit more knowledge before the candidate comes in.
All right. Next up, update on the Mountain View Middle School principal search.
And I think that's me.
Well, I think it was a press release.
So let me, so if I can interject, and I will apologize for whoever. I sent the press release out as a third party to the process. The reason for the press release going out was really, in our minds, was to inform the public about the open house. That was the purpose of that press release, was to get it out to the public so they knew there was an open house. It was not meant to light the board on that information. I in my day, I had planned, here, we'll send this out. Kate was out, she's asked me to do it. I sent it out to the papers, I sent it out on the Power announcement, just on an email, to every parent, because originally we were talking about just the middle school, but it was like, you know what, we may have third grade parents who are interested, so we sent it out to everybody. We sent it out to New Boston and Dunbarton to go home with their students because they don't have a system. And then I was like, oh, I'll attach it to my superintendent's notes, in the notion of, you know what, this is you'll get the same information, you're getting the same information. I apologize if some of you got the email before or after the public got it, or if whatever that looked like. It was just the sequence of how things went out. I think Retta can probably talk about the process and how we landed at just one candidate.
Yeah, I would really be interested in hearing that.
Yep, and I'm happy to answer any questions
And
about
I think
that.
MC is here too.
Yep, and she will fill in blanks, sure. So as you know, there was a number of committee members that were chosen, and there were 17 in total that were there to go through this entire process, and that included members from the supervisory union, Goffstown, New Boston board members, and teachers, as well as parents from Goffstown, Dunbarton, and New Boston. A member of the Mountain View Middle School support staff, and GHS administrator. So it was a large group, and there was a process that was laid out, and there weren't any guidelines on, what's the number that we need to recommend to move forward. But it was recommended that we probably don't want to move more than 3 candidates forward, but that wasn't hard and fast. So if we got to a point where we had 4 ideal candidates to move forward, then we would have moved 4 forward. So there was no minimum, no maximum, but a general ballpark of what's expected, which I think is fairly typical in the hiring process, so you understand, the next steps. There were a number, there was community forums where there were that talked about what is it that we're looking for in a candidate, as well as the qualifications for a principal of a middle school. So all of those factors were taken into consideration to come up with the questions. Out of, I believe it was 18 candidates, 6 were invited for interviews. And the same questions were asked of all of the candidates. And at the end of the day, we felt that only one was qualified to move forward. And I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was not our intention that this is the only candidate, and we still understand, and the candidate understands that this is just part of the process. And we are prepared, if this candidate does not get approved, to go back and start over. And I do not believe that we would consider any of the other candidates as candidates that we'd want to consider. So we would be going to Plan B. So when we were moving candidates forward, we were intending that we would move all of the qualified candidates forward. At the end of the day, and after really good questioning, there was only one candidate that we felt was qualified to move forward, and that's the one that was presented. It was our understanding that a press release would be sent out. If there were 3 candidates, a press release would have been sent out. I think because there was only one that was there may be an impression that the committee has chosen the candidate, but that is not our understanding at all.
And I would add, I think I asked them to revise the press release to add that pending nomination and finishing the process. And I believe the committee has been very clear with the candidate. I've been very clear with the committee that this is a process, and just because there's only one, we still need the input of everybody, and that input is important, and that it's not a done deal till that happens, till I sit and meet that candidate and interview them extensively, like I have done in any other administrative position. I may get to interview that candidate and say, you know what, she's got these skills or he's got these skills, but not these skills, and bring that back to the committee. So it is not a done deal until I bring that nomination forward to you folks and you accept that nomination and appoint the person. So I think they've been very clear through the process, and I applaud the committee for even coming up with one, but being very clear that there is a process that still needs to happen, that this is not a done deal.
And I've been on a number of hiring committees, and ideally, going in, I expected to at least have 2, because you need to be able to compare. But I can say that the committee did not feel like there was another candidate that the majority felt like could move forward. So that's what happened. And there's a couple of I guess it's Wednesday there's visits that go to the candidates' school to visit. On Thursday there will be community meetings within the middle school, then open up to parents, and then with the board. And then the committee will debrief afterwards.
And the committee then will make a recommendation to me of that candidate or not. So again, they may get feedback from the community and from the board that's like, really, this is your candidate? And they're planning to meet after that day to take all the feedback, take that all in a package and make a decision of whether that's the recommendation they're sending to me. So that's kind of the process.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for making the process live for those of us who weren't there.
I think any of you that have been on the hiring, sometimes you come up with 0. And we were prepared for that as well. We were not willing to move somebody forward unless we felt, given the situation and the history, unless we felt like they had the background and the skill. I will say we're very excited about this candidate, and we're looking forward to having everybody meet with the candidate, and hopefully they feel the same way as we do.
Yeah, the only comment I was going to make is I'm very uncomfortable with only one candidate, especially at Mountain View Middle School, because we've had 3 principals there since it's been around. 2 of them were one candidate people, and it did not go well. And I'm not saying that this is going to happen.
No.
It's just...
I don't disagree. I honestly don't disagree. I wish we had at least two.
Right, yeah.
And we had that discussion. There was a lot, I mean, the team was great, there was a lot of great discussion, and we weren't unanimous on everything that we talked about, but we were unanimous that we felt this was the candidate that we were comfortable moving
No,
forward.
that's great, that's great.
As a post-review, you had mentioned that for the announcement, when I got it too, I was upset. This helps a little bit. Is there a better method? What would your suggestion be, Suzanne? How would we get notified before the...
I wasn't upset about the notification. I was upset. I almost looked at it and I said, who are they kidding? This is the finalist? This is the only person out there. Who else are they going to nominate? You know, they may not nominate this one, but, you know.
And I could certainly see that.
And I
without
just
being
thought it
part
looked
of
so
all the
stupid.
dialogue that went behind the scenes. I could absolutely see that.
And my recommendation I would suggest is, on Thursday or Friday, I think the board should have had a notice saying, this is what we're doing, and the press release is going out at the beginning of the week. I think that would have solved a lot of the issues of anger that arose.
Or fully explanation of what Retta just explained to us. We went through the whole thing, and maybe, because it was concern. I looked at it and said, this is how I get notified?
Yeah. You weren't the only
We
one.
really
I've heard from
had
some other board
a
members
meeting
about that.
tonight, like, to get this report
Yeah,
is
it would have
very
been
helpful and informative,
Yeah.
and
But this
I think it
also
could have
is public
avoided-
as soon as that happens.
Right. But they might do a press release.
Perhaps it could be in concert with the press release at the same time. So the press release goes with maybe a more robust.
I think we could have been notified
Because this
Friday.
is all public. Yeah. Okay.
Well, I think that, and again, I think that whatever the process is, that needs to be communicated clearly to the chair. Not only, I mean, we're hiring two, well, we're not hiring both positions, but I think that to have that clear process, because, I mean, this was a pretty rigorous process trying to meet a deadline. And that should be clear, because I can see where it is an awkward situation in that having that information up front would have at least prepared all of us to talk to anyone else that has that concern. But that's the way it happened, and we should correct the process, and we need to correct the process.
Go ahead.
And the final question would be, did the committee discuss in public, of course, because I don't want to know about the other stuff, that because of the lateness in the process, you felt that out of 18 candidates, only one of them would be put forward? Is that because of the timeline, you think? Because it was set towards the end of the year and not... If we would go in September, October and say we're going to be looking to hire a middle school principal starting July 1st, 2014, that would have made a difference.
I think whenever you have that kind of long-term ability, you're going to open up more possibilities, but I think you also lose possibilities as well. I'm not familiar with what the principal search guideline is. I do have a sense with the superintendent, if we started now trying to hire full-time, that's probably not likely. So I don't think we
For
ever...
July 1st, 2013, but for July 1st, 2014, it's for superintendent.
For superintendent, I think we were looking to start just recently, and that would have been, I think it was made clear to us that the pool would have been much, much smaller, but we didn't feel that way, and I'm saying the committee, because we chose to move forward with this. I don't think the committee felt rushed at all. I think we had 18 candidates, and we sorted through those and made a decision who we should interview. And I feel like the committee worked really well and was really diligent and critical of, about what the candidates, who the candidates were.
I just want to add that the committee, we absolutely understood that if there was not a candidate, we were not going to move someone forward. That was put right out there. That was part of the conversation.
No settling.
No.
No, and
no
that
settling.
It was no.
And that's good. I mean, that's a great way to go into that process. We're not settling.
That
And that's
was made
something
very clear.
I made sure
Because
to...
there's always Plan B.
So that's something I made sure to make clear when I spoke to Kathy Remillard for the papers, that we are absolutely prepared to seek another option for you too.
Thank you.
Thanks, Retta. All right. We've already done new business A. Review deferred to non-public, which brings me to B, NDMS out-of-state field trip request.
Yep, this is
MOFA.
Yeah, it's a Museum of Fine Arts in Boston. This is the 2 6th grade teams. Mary Grassett, Jean Heineman, Pat Moriarty, and Linda Quimby. They're looking to go on June 26th. It is a new out-of-state field trip, which is why I'm bringing it forward to you. So it will need a motion to approve it. If you do, actually the admission is covered by the McLean Family New Hampshire Student Membership Program, which provides free access to all students. So transportation is approximately $700, so it will be divvied up between all of those students as about 80-something students who will be going in chaperones.
So we have a motion, seconded by Jenny, to approve their out-of-state field trip request. Any further discussion? Dan?
I didn't get the full financial part of that again.
The admission for the trip is covered by a membership the McLean Family New Hampshire Student Membership Program. Transportation is $700. That will be split between the students.
So the students are paying for the transportation too? And
The
they've
parents
never
are paying
gone.
for the transportation.
Yeah, because if you recall, we've cut
Well, I think
transportation.
we had moved it out of the budget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or by necessity, not
Yeah.
Okay. And they've never gone to the Museum of Fine Arts?
No. This
Which
is a trip for them.
class is this?
6th grade.
So it's the 6th grade at that point?
4 6th grade classes.
All right, so we have a motion to approve the out-of-state field trip request. All in favor?
Just
We
an
are
FYI, I
unanimous.
think the parents are paying $30 for the kids to go. Because I have a 6th grader, I know at the end of the month, I had to put $30 in for a field trip at the end of the month.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense when they're splitting that up.
Yeah, but 700 divided by 80 doesn't come out to $30. I'm doing some math right now, I'm thinking.
All right.
$30 for the Canada trip.
You pay what for?
Canopy.
Oh, the canopy, okay.
It's the same, because it's not the same.
You know, I just write the checks out. I just, you know.
Yeah, I think this one should be about $10.
Yeah, Canopy's a little more expensive, Keith.
Yeah.
It gets worse.
All right, so we were unanimous.
Twins, like a lot of the parents in the grade.
We're unanimous.
It's okay, I got 3 kids in the school district. I get hit 3
Okay,
times.
after school
Okay.
program.
I know, we gotta
Ray
get
would,
back on
Ray would like to
task.
table number 1 to the next meeting.
So wait a minute, so the after-school, the Mountain View after-school program, you're looking to
Just not
table
talk
that?
about it.
Yeah,
Okay,
we'll bring it back up in the next meeting.
okay, and then the Bartlett Maple Avenue after-school program recommendations?
We're passing some handouts around right now. The after-school program for the elementary facilities, 3 contractors were invited to submit bids. The New Morning School, who's providing the services this year. Kids University, we did request a package from us, and the YMCA. We had 1 respondent, it was the YMCA. And we have on the sheets that you're looking at, there is a cost comparison of what we're looking at this year with the New Morning School and what the Y is proposed cost-wise to run the program next year. If there are any particular questions, we'll try to answer them for you.
I noticed they're offering scholarships.
Yes, they are.
$4,000.
And that's just out of their own income they're taking, that's not subsidized by us.
And the $2,000 for annual rent is for each location? There are 2 locations?
Yep. So the Y is, if I just want to make sure I'm clear, because I know they have the bus and they pick children up and they bus them to the Y. This is a different program. The Y is looking to have an in-school program.
Correct.
That doesn't involve busing and taking them to their facility.
Are they still offering the busing too?
for special programs, and that would be up to the parents to arrange.
And they pay for the bus, and yeah, it's different.
I just
it's
hope
a
they weren't
different
giving that up,
program.
that's all.
Yeah, no.
I just wanted to make sure, too, that
Yeah.
we're talking about two separate things, because you're accustomed to see the Y bus drive
Right.
around.
Like the middle school
So-
has this, and it's school-based. They do, I think, one day a week go to the Y for different fun activity, to be able to play basketball or swim or whatever. They do offer that. I think they open up the Y for them.
I know for the
But it
night
is
when they bring them to the
school-based.
Y right at the end of the
Yeah,
day
and
or before.
that's a different program. That's one parents pay for, and they pay for the transportation. And
So I'll go
So
ahead.
can I just ask one question? So
Yeah.
the current, it's called the Schools Out program at the Y, would be at the elementary school instead of...
no, they would still have the program at the Y. This is just, so New Morning is currently running it, and I would say they probably have 50 or 60 kids every day. It's based at the school.
Right.
It's separate programs, so parents could do that one or this one.
I'll go forward and make a motion that we go forward to contract with the YMCA for the AM and PM before and after school at each of the buildings.
Each
Have
of
a
the
second?
elementary schools.
Second.
Before?
Seconded by Jenny.
There's an AM program
Yeah,
as
they
well.
have a
Yeah,
morning
There is.
program.
Parents who have to drop their kids off early.
Okay. And so I had a second by
Me.
by Jenny. Okay. All in favor?
Right. And as making sure that the motion is for 1 year with optional renewals, similar, if that's okay with the person who made the second.
Your piece, all in favor?
Excuse
That's a
me.
unanimous vote, unanimous, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Big
We've
tough-
got milk. Wow,
You gotta love it. Milk does the body good.
Yeah.
I'm glad you
milk
watch
cheap.
TV, Dan.
Oh, way, way back. That one goes way, way back.
70s, I think.
And the whole time I watched TV.
This one.
Here are the results. Your food service director for the district, Megan Bizzaro, did a fine job in pulling the bid together this year for the milk program. She acted on behalf of the Goffstown School District, New Boston, and Dunbarton. 3 companies were invited and did submit bids, HP Hood, Gorelick, and Oakhurst. The low bidder was Hood, and they were $10,948 less than their nearest competitor, which was Oakhurst. The volumes and how this was calculated was a combined total usage for each of the 3 school districts. So the number, the $10,900 number is a savings for the SAU.
Who's our current provider? Good. Any issues with the delivery?
No, Hood has done a good job, I understand, when compared to the previous company, as far as on-time deliveries and clean product coming in, clean cartons.
Please notice how much fat-free chocolate milk is the winner.
Oh, it's in front of
One of my
every
favorites.
little tray.
So if, I'd like to make a motion, we accept the bid from Hood.
Do I have a second?
At the variable, according to the schedule.
Okay. Seconded by Ben. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
We're unanimous, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I've misplaced my second part. Okay, electrical supplier bids.
We'll talk about it, but maybe not.
So Reagan's been working with the town. Actually, they went out to bid for electrical suppliers, and we were included in that opportunity. And so Ray's going to go over the kind of final information from the town as to what they got for bids for optional suppliers.
We'll submit the pricing response sheet that the town was able to pull together for us. Much like the radio and print commercials, the savings to the school district, or SAU 19, again including all of the schools inside of the 3 districts, For a 12-month program, the savings will be in the order of 24% for the electrical supply charge. An 18-month program, the savings would increase to 26.4%. We're looking at rough numbers right now. We have not quantified what an annual savings amount might be for the school district. We're going to, at the recommendation of the A&F committee, go away, make that calculation for you, bring it back to your next meeting. So on an annual basis, the board will be able to understand just what this all means.
Would you do me a favor, for the idiot in the room? Just walk me through this quickly. The PSNH benchmark, there are two numbers, the 9.5 cents.
Is the current rate. Okay. The proposal that they've made to the PUC is 8.98 cents.
Okay. And so that dovetails with everything that's below it. Thanks very much.
So you want to specifically look at the Goffstown section?
Yep.
No, what you want to look at is SAU 19. Goffstown would be the town.
Oh.
New Boston would be the town.
Okay, gotcha. SAU 19 is for all 3 school districts?
Right.
Because, let me ask a question, if SAU 19 is the 3 school districts, if New Boston decided to stay with PNSH, but we went with the low bidder here, would that still be viable?
Each of the bids are on a standalone basis.
So the school
in
New Boston is...
No, the school in New Boston would participate with SAU 19. The town of New Boston, however, separate entity, could elect to go.
I guess maybe the question I'm asking, is this an SAU decision, or is this each of the Goffstown school districts' decision? And what happens if one school district or 2 school districts decides to do a different program for 18 or 36 months? I guess, do we still have the same rate?
We kind of do that through the SAU now, anyway, don't we?
When we combine
With fuel and everything, so it's not a new system.
Because otherwise, I don't think any of us would individually be able to get that rate. It's a rate for all of the...
It's a bulk rate.
Facilities.
The bell rang.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you, ladies, for staying so late.
So, Ray, if Goffstown chose to go there and Dunbarton and New Boston didn't?
It's likely the rate would change.
Okay. So it's kind of the same as, like, we do oil.
For oil,
like, we just assume
paper,
you all want the best bargain.
But it's potentially the case, though, we're giving different lengths of contract. Previously, we never had that, so that's where I'm afraid that we might all, I guess, Ray, you gave us 3 choices, you should have just given us 1.
Well,
I'm confident we can
the reason
work
we're
this
looking at
through.
quantity, the A&F committee went through this, is so that we could actually see what's the difference between 0702 and 0710. Are we talking dollars? Are we talking hundreds of dollars or thousands of dollars? To whether we think the difference between going up by 0.008, less than 1/10 of a penny.
I just want to know if we could become a
But keep
reseller.
it for twice as long. Yeah, understand.
The meters are getting restless.
Right, no, I'm confident we can work this through. I'm confident this can be...
In 2 weeks,
This
we'll
can
have
be
it all
worked
list.
through,
Okay, so we're tabling it?
Oh, we are for 2 weeks.
So I'm able to bring the numbers back.
Right, thank you for that, Ray.
One of the other things we're thinking about is it happens on the day that the meter reads, whenever that happens. But my suggestion in the committee was to be fully informed about what we're talking about, because 18 months or 36 months, you guys are going to be throwing the dart at a board saying, do we think it's going down? Public Service brought it down, but what's the rate going to look like? The other question we asked is, what was the rate for which Honeywell guaranteed, because this reduction is part of the Honeywell contract, and that is the .071, which is the 36-month rate, which they guaranteed we would have. So if we happen to go with the 18th month rate of .0702, we actually get slightly better, and they're predicting as part of the overall package that it will stay low. in the future. But
So, Ray, you're going to come back in 2 weeks? Thank you. Okay. Leave of absence.
Yes, I'll take one.
Yes.
I have one too.
I am bringing forward a leave of absence request. Joyce Hang, who is our music teacher at Bartlett, is requesting an extension to her current leave of absence from September through February. It is in her contract, it's medical, and I would recommend you approve it.
Move to approve. Here we go.
Second.
So, we've moved by Suzanne, seconded by Philip, all in favor?
with the due diligence question, how does that affect the contractual? I mean, why would someone be on a leave of absence rather than anything else? It holds their job.
Yep, it holds their
harmless,
job. The contract allows for up to 18 months of a leave of absence.
And this would bring it to
This is
the
18
18.
months. Correct.
Okay, thank you.
So all in favor?
Aye.
I did see a unanimous show of hands, thank you. We have a teacher resignation.
Yep, I'm bringing forward a teacher resignation, but I also want to add, so at the last meeting, the question came up about why you accept a resignation. I think Dan asked the question, it was somebody, and there was
Yeah.
what?
Dan was like, "What's the point?"
I left here and I was like, there's got to be a reason. Like at the meeting, I was dumbfounded, but I walked away and said, oh, it's because you have nominated that person already to a position, and so therefore they're leaving. And so you have to accept their
Okay, that
resignation.
makes
I knew there was,
perfect
I was like, okay, why, just at whatever time it was, it was not in my mind.
Yeah.
That's
So
why
this
they're
is that same
resigning,
thing, yeah, so
because
this
they were
is,
offered a contract,
signed a
accepted it,
contract,
and now they're
they're
okay.
resigning. So
Now I get it.
I'm bringing forward the resignation of Shannon Donahue, who is the nurse at Mountain View Middle School, effective the end of this year. So again, it's because you offered her a contract, you signed it, and is now resigning.
Do we know why?
Yes.
Guess you could
Okay,
ask that
and do
question.
you want to?
Yes.
That's right, I was-
Well,
Yes,
the
I
question
know.
is, do you want to hear about it in non-public before we come out and?
It wouldn't affect
It
my
wouldn't affect your
decision to
decision, yeah.
accept,
Okay.
just out of curiosity or something else.
I mean, if she's resigning, she's resigning.
Well, sometimes it's good to know
You can
why.
argue with her.
No, we wouldn't change it. So do we have a motion?
Make the motion.
A motion
Accept
from
the
Ginny, second by Hank, all in favor? We are unanimous, thank you. Teacher nominations.
I'm bringing forward Angela Colvin for first grade at Bartlett Elementary School. Angela is currently a long-term sub and has been working all year at Mountain View as a fifth grade teacher. In a long-term sub position, has done an outstanding job. They had a team interview at Bartlett and are recommending her for that position.
What was the name again?
Angela Colvin. So,
Which grade at Mountain View is she at now?
she's in fifth grade.
You did?
I did. I don't know if anybody else heard me, but you.
I heard you say the motion.
You made a motion? Do we have a second? Second by Ginny. All in favor? We're unanimous, thank you. And is that it? Do we have other business that may legally come before the meeting?
I have nothing else.
We just got to go to non-public and do a couple of things.
I recall that. So we will be entering into non-public, and as is our custom, we do come out of non-public, go back into public for a few minutes following that. But we are going to non-public right now pursuant to RSA 91A:3 to,
Whatever.
we are, because we need to revisit the student issue, which is going to be regarding, I want to know these, it's not really, matters which is, so C, subsection C,
So moved.
which is matters which if discussed in public would likely adversely affect the reputation of any person other than the member of the public body.
So moved.
So I have Keith, do I have a second?
This is going to be a short non-public, right?
Second by Ginny.
Depends.
I need recognition by roll call. Right?
Yes.
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 Yes, yes, okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ray.
Good night, Ray.
Good night,
Thanks,
Ray.
Ray.